All right, I hit the start button. We'll start seeing some people trickle in.
Oh, you started?
Yep.
All right. Guess I'll do the same here. Give me about 1 minute, even though I'm not going actually live.
Sure.
We are at episode 9.
And next week is double digits. That's crazy.
That's really crazy.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. We got started just on time. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it on time today. What's up, Lap? I'm going to wait to read what you post. Oh, my goodness. You did post. Oh.
I found a couple of things
you,
from around
found,
the community.
you found a couple. Okay.
Well, a couple of them are kind of like drive-bys, but like interesting talking points, perhaps.
Yeah.
So that I think a couple of them you'll like for sure.
Reported. This isn't Baldur's Gate? No, it is not. I'm not listed under Baldur's Gate, am I? I should be listed under Ashes. Oh, now you got me nervous. No, I'm under Ashes. I,
Is it
I
in your title still?
no, I know I changed that. Everything should be good. I
Okay.
I think if I'm not too tired, I'll be streaming Baldur's after this, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Last time I said I was going to do that, I was pretty tired by the end of it, so. Well, yeah, what's going on, Nice? While we're waiting for you to get set up. How are you doing?
I think I'm good to go. I am pretty good day, pretty busy day. So if you guys aren't aware, today I will not be streaming this live on the channel. I'll post it a little bit, like I guess right afterwards, because I'm having internet issues, which should be fixed by Thursday.
That's
So
good to
while I
hear.
can, I could obviously have a Discord call and game and all that. I don't think it's like up to par to stream consistently. So yeah. But yeah, other than that, fine. I'm just excited to get this new internet going. So let's go ahead and make this official. So, welcome to another episode of Ashes of Creation, Voices of Verra. We are on episode 9. Myself, Nice Gaming, with Is There No One Else? Welcome to the stream. As I just mentioned, this stream will only be live on Is There No One Else's Twitch channel, which I'll have linked in the description later. And then I'll have it uploaded here on my YouTube channel. And once again, as always, we have a lot of talking points, a lot of forum posts, Reddit posts, and just overall good talks with you, the community. And we're going to get some good discussions going, obviously, with you guys in chat and with each other. And yeah, welcome on in.
So we're gonna do something a little bit different this time because I have a story, and it has nothing to do with Ashes of Creation, but I almost wasn't able to make the stream today, so I figured it'd be relevant to explain kind of what happened. Um, Yesterday we had our nice holiday nice, and
Hmm.
the wife and I, we take turns watching the kids. So like in the morning, I give her like, hey, go do whatever you want. You get 6 hours away from kids, and then she does the same thing for me, right? And so
Nice.
she slept in, which is way better than what I decided to do. I decided to go for a walk while it was 95 degrees outside,
Ooh.
and so I go for a walk, and I'm walking, and I'm gonna change my display capture here. But as I'm walking on the sidewalk, I find a baby squirrel, and it's just hanging out on the sidewalk. And I was like, well, shit. and so and so I see a baby squirrel. It's 95 degrees outside. It's just hanging out on the sidewalk. There's no other squirrels in the area. And so I was like, okay, well, I got to take care of this. So I turn around and I go back home. I call my wife up and I was like, hey, there's a baby squirrel, like must have fallen out of the tree. It's clearly abandoned. Like there's nothing in the
Yeah.
area. And if I just leave it on the sidewalk, it's just literally going to get cooked. And I can't, I'm not going to let it get cooked. And so
Yeah.
we find a rehabilitation center. And so I drop, it's like a 15-minute drive, pick them up, drop them off. Everything's good. And the lady at the rehabilitation center goes, yeah, do you walk by that place often? And I was like, Yeah, I try to walk by once a day. I try to, get a little bit of exercise in every day, try to get my steps in. And she goes, okay, well, you want to make sure you're going to go by again, because oftentimes when the mother is killed or injured or whatever, if she abandons her nest, they typically have like more babies. So you might want to go back and check.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, that's good to know. And so I realized, I was like, well, I'd feel bad if I don't go back and look, because I didn't look around like all the way around the tree, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I go back and I go look, and there's one hanging from a tree, and he's got his two paws up, and like one of his paws isn't able to, like, he's not even hanging. Like their eyes are closed. They're like 3 weeks old. Like that's how young they are. And so I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm going back. So I scoop this one up and I take him back. And so I drop him off, and I do the dad joke, and I was like, I got another one for my tab. And so I dropped this one off, and I go back. And so today at about 5 o'clock, so an hour and a half before our live stream starts, the girls are going shoe shopping. They went out and get shoes before school and everything. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to go for a walk. I'll go check it out. So I walk by, just wondering if I'm going to see another one. And guess what? I found another one. And
no way.
Yeah, so I found another one, and my dumbass didn't bring the car. Like, I went for a walk, and so then I had to run back home. It was only a mile, but I had to run back home a mile in Crocs, grab my shoes, go get a box, pick him up, and he was like covered in flies, and yeah, it was he's alive, but he wasn't doing too well. So we dropped him off today, and then I had to drive back in like traffic, and I just got in the door at like 6:20. So I just made it in time. So, but yeah, if I get to see updates on them and everything, which will be pretty cool. But yeah, it felt pretty good to, potentially save 3 of them. So from just getting cooked.
Oh wow! Can we get a shout out to El saving squirrels? He's got pictures shown on his stream of his story. If you guys didn't see that. That's really cool. That's good. You know how I would describe that story?
What's that?
It was nuts.
I almost took a drink of water. God, that's almost as bad as my dad joke I told the people at the That's pretty good.
Couldn't resist.
Oh yeah.
It was too obvious, but I was like, that's not gonna stop me from going for it.
No, you still gotta go for it. Because if you can get one eye roll out of a joke like that, you've accomplished it. So,
mission accomplished.
But yeah, we made it in time, and so now we are going to discuss. Like Nice said, we had the big node stream this last week. We had our emergency podcast on Friday. Yes. I thought the podcast was great. It was a fun time. But now we've had a few days to digest. We've had a few days to read community posts and everything, and we're going to do that. We're going to go through what the community's kind of talking about, kind of listen to you guys as well, and hear your overall thoughts on the Node live stream.
Yes, it was a good. It was like one of those first takes. What is your first impression of the Node stream? So that's why it was cool to do that emergency podcast. So yeah, I really like that. As far as my opinion, I think my opinion's still kind of the same. I will be honest. So if you remember last stream, I was like, I don't know if it's a 7. I don't know if it's an 8. But you know what? Since then, I call it a 12. No, I'm playing. I didn't switch that much. But no, I do think it's a solid 8. It's okay. A solid 8. I like I said before, I really enjoyed the stream. When I started looking at it as more of a things to come, I think I was expecting more of a full-on nodes display / showcase like we got with nodes 1 and nodes 2 almost. And I know that was more of a video of, not seeing it in action, but still that's kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And I felt like we got more of a mayoral showcase. But I mean, all that aside, just the visuals and just the everything, it was a good showcase, and I stick with that and I stay true to that. So really impressive.
Yeah, I stand on what I said before. I thought it was a solid 8. It didn't provide everything that I wanted, but like we talked about before, nodes is so expansive. I wasn't expecting it to cover just about anything. Like
very true.
They could have had an 8-hour like live stream covering nodes, and there's a decent chance they wouldn't have covered what I wanted them to cover, because that's how extensive this entire system is. So with that in mind, like it opened my eyes to like how crazy, like they're not mini games, but like the mayoral system is almost a mini game within Ashes itself, and the fact like how intensive that is pretty cool. So
Yes. And I think the cape was the saving grace of the stream.
100%. I'm a huge Cape fan.
And I know we kind of said this already, but I mean, it was a 3-hour stream that was supposed to be 2 hours, and there's still so much missing information, so much stuff they didn't go over. So it's, you know, you can't really fault them for that. There's a lot of stuff I felt was important that they touch on that they didn't. But then you got to look at it like, man, like, I mean, it was an hour longer than they anticipated, and they still had to miss stuff or not mention or get too much in detail with stuff. So, I mean,
Exactly.
we got to take what we can get there, which is more than understandable. So, yeah, good showcase. So where do we want to start today as far as, do you want to look at the Nodes feedback article?
I thought that there'd be some good stuff to discuss there. If you want to go another direction, we can. But yeah, I thought there was some very counter arguments to what we've talked about, and I thought that'd be good to kind of look at and see it from another perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely would like to dig into that. I think that's going to be the biggest source of information to get community feedback. Obviously, we got things like Discord, video comments, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Comments on the official Ashes of Creation video. But I think this feedback request, I mean, come on, it literally has feedback requests for that showcase on the official Ashes of Creation forums. And I don't think you get much better than that. So I say let's do that.
Okay.
I have that pulled up now. If you want to, I'll actually go ahead and read the, it's kind of their, you know, similar format for most of their feedback things here. Here, let me make my page a little bit bigger.
All right.
There we go. So hello, glorious community. We'd like your feedback on the Alpha 2 Village node update shown during the August 2023 development update livestream. To help guide this conversation, here are a few thought starters you can choose from. How do you feel about the Village node update so far? What excites you about playing and interacting with the node system? Is there anything in particular you're excited or concerned about regarding what was shown in the Village node update? What are your thoughts about the visual fidelity of what was shown with the Village node update? Please don't feel limited by the thought starters above. Feel free to share anything you'd like about Ashes of Creation's Alpha 2 Village node update shown during the August development update. We'll be compiling a report for the design team on Friday, September 15th, 2023. So please try to get your feedback into this thread by then. Everyone here at Intrepid Studios looks forward to reading all the feedback you have to share. And then they obviously linked the video. And this is from Ashes of Creation community manager Vagnar.
Yes.
Which ones? I'll let you kind of read off which ones you want to get into, and we'll rotate out like that.
Yeah, and so I provided a link in the Twitch thread or Twitch chat if you guys want to go check it out. If you guys want to provide your own feedback, this really helps them. If you guys haven't noticed if you haven't been following their live stream stuff, they really do pay attention to feedback as long as it's constructive and good. And so doing your part, just like if you have any opinions, strong opinions that you maybe want to share with us, maybe just consider sharing it with them as well so that they can see it. But yeah, the first one here is from, I think it's Nicker, Nikr, Nicker. And it says, love the presentation, was engrossed in the PowerPoint discussion, even though I was on my 20th hour of being awake. Love this change towards a way more detailed and deep discussion about topics. As for the designs related to nodes, I'll need to rewatch the stream several times to properly understand everything. Yeah, I did the same. But on the first go through, it definitely felt like mayorship has become a purely guild-based thing. Steven liked to say that guilds won't own nodes and all that, but with the current design of even non-citizens contribute to the node and give mayor mandates, with the combo of mandates let the mayor overrule citizen voting, this kind of feels like my group of friends can get me to become a mayor, even then we rule it however we want. Okay? Now, on that note of friends can make me a mayor, we now have a change of the military elections. Before, you seemingly could become a military mayor if you were good at the champion PvP. You could be a solo player who was just great at PvP and you'd earn your place at the top of the mountain. Now, others can help you, and if I remember correctly, even non-citizens can be involved. I'll edit this later if I'm remembering wrong. This kind of goes directly against the guilds don't own nodes because this design lets them do exactly that. And once they put their own mayor in place, they can then do non-citizen activities to produce some mandates for the mayor, who would then use said mandates to overrule citizens voting. Now, this will obviously depend on balancing of things, and hell, might even get completely changed by the time of release, but you wanted feedback on the current choices, so here it is. One counterbalancing design to everything is the node specification feature, but it will only be a true counterbalance if citizens get huge benefits to being citizens when compared to other people. You said that specifications is there to attract others to the node and for it to stand out from other nodes. This kind of implies that non-citizens can enjoy the majority of node benefits. So in theory, a guild wouldn't need to have a majority of their members as node citizens to enjoy the fruits of their we make our own mayor labor. See, I thought this was very interesting. Oh, and on an additional note, enemy of the state system not letting us influence other players is bad. The entire forum had something like a week-long discussion of environmental terrorism, and EOTS was one of the systems that could potentially prevent that type of thing. But now we've got none of that. I hope I misunderstood that part of the stream, or that it'll change after testing. So what do you think?
So before we get into the meat of this,
Sure.
that enemy of the state part of the stream, I could be confused on that too, because to me it sounded like Steven got rid of that. I had to rewatch that part. I mean,
Same.
I rewatched it, listened to it 3 times, but I'm pretty. That's how I recall hearing it as well. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like he was saying that they're getting rid of it, or the way he responded to it implied that that's no longer a thing.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I kind of got the same impression that Nick here got. So I like that he said that. And by the way, very good post. I'm actually going to leave that a like since I'm logged into my forum account. So let's get into this. So he said he loved the presentation. He's more so worried about the guild aspects of the mayoral system and how, you know, they claim it's going to be a separation. Think about the separation of or rather a check and balance system with guilds and mayors. They don't want that too intertwined, but what he's worried about is that you really can't prevent that the way things are going from their current designs. And honestly, I kind of agree with him. I think he makes some good points here. I could see how this can become a thing. We talked about last stream about the insider trading. You know, the mayor knows he's going to do a buy order for this specific material. He then tips off his guild like, hey, go ahead and start, you know, stocking up on this material. Then you got other things like the guild. If that mayor's in a guild, there's no way that that's not an influence, you know?
Yep.
I just feel like that's something you can't avoid. Now they can limit certain ways to, you know, make this not too bad of a thing. But I do think that mayors, the guild that a mayor is in is obviously going to have influence in decision. Hell, they're probably a big part of how he got in power, so he'll owe them favors. I mean, favors, taking payments. I mean, we're looking at real life politics at this point. We're not gonna. We're gonna try to avoid that tangent, but you know, it's getting pretty IRL there, if you will. I got a part here highlighted that he said, and it's this little small paragraph. He says, "Now others can help you, and if I recall, even non-citizens can be involved." I'll edit this later if I'm remembering wrong, but this kind of goes directly against the guilds won't own nodes because this designs let them do exactly that. How do I say this? I think it's a very, very worthy concern, and I just feel like it's going to go that direction. And one last point I want to make of his points is the military election system. This is one I'm a fan of. Obviously, you're a fan of military nodes. It seems to be the more PvP-oriented nodes, and I like the way they select their mayor. We recently got a change in the system where we all thought it was going to be a solo free-for-all, last man standing, or tournament-esque style. And it's like now there's going to be like a group of PvPers versus another group of PvPers, depending on who you want to back. And to me, this does lean more so towards guild style node type. I think the military nodes, almost more than the others, encourage a guild leadership or guild promoted thing. you and the strongest people from your guild get together, put this person in power. Right, and I thought this was going to be the only node that I had a chance of winning, which I mean still may be the case, but I felt like this was the only node type that I would ever have a chance of becoming mayor for. And it seems like, yeah, I agree. This was, from our understanding, speaking for me and Nick kind of here, that you as a solo player just being great at PvP would be able to earn your place at the top of the mountain. And that doesn't no longer seem to be the case. So, I mean, I kind of agree with him in most aspects of this post.
Yeah, I was reading it, and I don't remember, going back to what you talked about with the enemy of the state. I don't remember that part. And so I'll have to go back and find it. So I feel bad, but I have nothing to really to comment on that part. As far as the other node stuff, I think he does bring up a really good point about assigning more value to the citizens versus non-citizens, because then what you do if you have that situation, if you assign more value to citizens, then guilds don't roam around and potentially control more than one node. Because theoretically, in a theoretical situation, you have the 4 node types, right? You have the religious one, where it's based off of questing experience, religious experience, in whatever this quest line is going to be, right? And whoever gets the most, like, they get mayor. Then you have your economic node, where whoever invests the most money, they become mayor. It's not appointed by the people. You have the most gold, you can do that. And then you have your democratic one, where basically, like, you're voted on for by the people, which would probably be the toughest one, you would think, for a guild to try and get multiple of. And then you have the military node, which, if you're good at PvP, you could potentially, if there's more than one military node, you could potentially install a few people from your guild into each of these nodes. And so I can see it. I can definitely see it. But the other aspect is then you have, these people will be basically spending a full-time job being mayor. And so I do see that aspect, but I also see the aspect of people doing, potentially doing bad things. And yeah, like, when it happens again, I think that's another thing that will drive a story, is like, you have a bad, corrupt political leader and they have to be gone. And so I do agree, though, that you want to try to, like, prevent a little bit of that. And I do think the way you go about doing that is just whatever the arbitrary value is, making sure that citizens just have more value than, like, the average person in Verra in that specific area. And then that way, due to becoming a citizen in an area, you don't have influence in another area. I think that's how you do it.
I like what you said there at the very beginning, when you said that, because I didn't even think about that really, in that I'm over here worried about mayors, guild owning a whole node because they got their mayor put in charge.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the possibility until you said it, that a guild can have multiple mayors in that guild. Like, how many metropolises are allowed on a server? It's 5,
Yeah.
if I recall. And there's 4 types. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, if a guild has 3 mayors of metropolises on their server, like, that's big. I mean, obviously we can look at potential of 4, and then they got a couple of stage 4 node mayors, a couple of stage 5 mayors sprinkled here and there. But I mean, now we're looking at a guild almost trying to run the whole map. I mean, how much power does a guild owning a node actually entail?
Yeah.
I mean, they have some limited power there, but I mean, that's that many more that's that many more nodes that's probably not going to get sieged because they have other nodes connected with them. Or what if they get all the nodes on in a certain corner of the map? Or, there's like so many situations. I mean, obviously this is stuff we're going to have to get our hands on the system and everything like that, but I could definitely see down the line a couple of conflicts of interest brewing up. But yeah, depending on which nodes and how many, that's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting point of view. I think once you get more towards endgame, I think it would be, depending on the size of the guild, it'd be almost impossible to really have a stronghold like 2 metropolises in one guild, because you got to defend them. Like, if they're getting attacked, like, you have to have people. Can citizens only defend? Can other people come to defend that node? Like, it really depends on, like, what those types of systems are. But if anybody can defend that node, like other citizens and other nodes can come defend, then yeah, you could potentially see a possibility of, you would think, alliances or guilds having multiple different big nodes, and then yeah, they could leverage that to make more money and these sorts of things. And so this will be something that'll be fun to test during Alpha 2. And we just don't know enough yet, but it's definitely like, hey, this is something to keep an eye out for. And I thought it was super cool. So
I see Fiddles in chat.
yep.
He says, what did he say there? I read something from him just now. There it is. He said, oh no, it was Ryan DeHall, the one that I was thinking of. He said the amount of work needed to level and maintain a metro would tend to make it difficult for one guild or group of guilds to control more than one. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
That was my point of view. I think it's worth thinking about. I definitely liked the post because they got me to think. Any post that gets you to think, I think it's a good one. Jeff Robb says the big guild scare again. Yeah. I'm not trying to do a big guild scare, but it is something that theoretically, with what we know, like, it seems like it could happen. I don't know. But yeah, it'll be fun to test.
I'll kind of go down. Let's go to another response here. We can occasionally skip a couple, of course. The very next comment was from forum member Gual. He says the progress in terms of visuals was great. The elevated node layout was by far my favorite part. The building animation was nice for this stage of development, with the scaffolding and workers moving around despite it being procedural. The ceremonial area with the large tree and arbors near the town hall is a great space that I'm sure role players will take advantage of. I did notice the stockades nearby as well. Perhaps the guard will make use of them. The NPC behaviors were very simple, but I assume they were mostly placeholders. Yeah, I assume most of that stuff was placeholders, but even if they are or aren't placeholders, they looked really good to me. Even the applesmith just smashing apples for some reason with his hammer. I mean, hey, making applesauce and selling it probably. I don't know. The windmill looked iconic on top of the hill, but it didn't seem to have a function when Steven walked by it. I think having a reason to interact with iconic structures is important. If the windmill isn't meant to be a service building, then I recommend at least having some quest content involve it. I'll be quite honest, I don't think that's that important of a thing at all. I think it could just be a windmill. That's just my personal opinion, but I don't think it's that serious, but just my opinion. He goes on to say, all design choices in the slides seem very solid. The mandate system is a brilliant way to reflect the mayor's political capital. Allowing nodes to choose their specialization sounds like it will work well. Finally, giving refugees a special status to avoid double punishment is a good move, and I encourage Intrepid to continue with this line of thinking. Good post. Good post.
Good job, Galwood. He approves. Galwood's in chat, so.
Oh, nice.
He's like, what a handsome poster this Gal. Yeah, I could tell. I could tell from the post. But yeah, no, Galwood normally says some pretty good stuff, and I agree with what he says here. I don't know if we have much to discuss about it. It's just kind of in line with.
Yeah, I think that was really good feedback.
Yeah, I did like the windmill myself as well. So.
Yeah, I think the reason I say it is like just because the windmill looks so cool, I was like, you know what? That doesn't have to have a function. I like it just existing.
Sure. Let's see if I can. Here we go. 2 down. CCC Han.
ICCC Han.
Yeah, it's from
Post.
Yep. It says. I see it. I see what you did there. Exhausting stream. Not much was said in the first 40 minutes of the talk that we didn't already know. Alpha 1 compared to Alpha 2 nodes were just some visual updates. 99% of the people won't use the major menu anyway. For example, I would have liked to see the effects of race in terms of visual effects related to the nodes, the different stages of the nodes, impact on from nodes, environment, etc., and not just running through a node doing some RPG and a bit of crafting. What also looks strange is that the scaffolding is only invisible and then slowly shown visually from the button to the top. It looks like the plank is growing. I like the PowerPoint sheets and the overall visuals are nice. My guildmates see it very similarly. 3 to 4 out of 10 stream. So my opinion is, I really think he's glossing over the just some visual updates. Like if you look at Alpha 1, nodes to alpha 2 nodes, like I think the visual updates are substantially more, and like
Yes.
I wish they could have hashed this more, but they were Steven was talking to the developer, and he's like, yeah, talk to us about what you've been working on. And he was basically stating like he was trying to figure out how to incorporate all these different racial styles of nodes into applying them instead of having them do them individually, right? And so
Yes.
he's like, yeah, we kind of created a system in order to just kind of plunk different styles in different areas. And he goes, it took a while, but now we're kind of set up to where we can apply this to multiple different nodes. And so the point is like that they didn't go into detail on, because it's a more boring thing to do, is it probably took them a long ass time to come up with that system to design
Yeah.
all these nodes and allow them to have these different things. But outside of that, I do agree that when I had my belief of what the node system was, I did expect to see different racial art types and a couple different node levels. Like they didn't have to show 4 or 5, but I was hoping to see like maybe 1, 2, 3 or 2, 3 or whatever, and like just see a couple different ones. So when I read this the first time, I was like, yeah, I agree with that. The scaffolding is only invisible and then slowly shown visually. I don't know, man. Like they sped it up. It's obviously gonna look
Yeah.
it's gonna look a little funny when it's sped up. I'm not too worried about that. And yeah, I like the PowerPoint sheets as well. So yeah, what did you think?
So to address the exhausting stream, I'm not sure what that means. I know a lot of people said that there was a lot of like, I guess, dead space. Like I've seen a lot of people say it could have been 20 minutes, 30 minutes instead of the. I think they mostly refer to the beginning of the stream where they're just outside of the node mining and just talking and showing these menus. So maybe that's what he means there. Um, Nothing was said in the first 40 minutes that we didn't know, but I think it's okay for them to repeat some stuff because not everyone is hardcore followers. So, you know, I think that's fine. Um, Honestly, I would prefer them had brought up a lot of things that we already did know or reinforce or see where we're at because things like node superpowers, this is stuff that I wanted them to talk about, even though they've talked about some, like to see where we are at with that, to see if that's still the case.
Yep.
Um, I'm with you on the visual updates. That was no minor thing to just speed past. I think it was a big deal. I think it was visually stunning, and like how you said last episode, it was like it felt more so like it was directed at the haters that was hating on Ashes of Creation's art style or graphics, if you will. He says a lot of time was shown using the I think he meant to say mayor menu there. Um I kind of agree. That's why I say it felt like somewhat of a mayor showcase to a certain extent, but I think it's still cool to know. I think we all wanted to see how it is to be a mayor and how that UI or those systems would show, and I think it's an important part of the node system. I think what we have here is like Intrepid just told us, early in the month, like, hey, we're gonna have nodes next month. They didn't really detail like, okay, it's gonna be just an introduction to nodes. They didn't really say. I think it was a while before they even said anything about it just being what stage it was gonna be at, if anything. So I think a lot of us, and that's something I admit to my own fault, is that I was expecting so much because of my own expectations, because
Yeah.
it's just that we just knew nodes. So I'm expecting nodes 3 that we never got. I'm expecting this epic informational presentation, and that's not what we got. We didn't get the thing like he says here, the effects of race, or a lot of people want to see the node advance from stage 2 to stage 3, and then or stage 3 to stage 4, however they want to go about it. Um, the different stages of the nodes impact on slash from nodes environment, etc. Um, he says here, and he wants to see that, and not just running through a node, doing some RPG and a bit of crafting. I think all that was fine. I think all that was fine. And as far as the scaffolding comment, I mean, they literally said they sped it up. That's not how it's gonna look, and it's pre-alpha. It's not gonna be perfectly crisp and stuff like that. So I think a 3 out of 4 is a bit harsh, but obviously that's his opinion. That's just, I mean, you can't really argue someone's opinion unless they give it like a 2. But even then, a 4, I'm like, dang. I thought I was being critical with the 7 or 8, but I mean, hey. But I do like that he said he liked the PowerPoint because I wish they'd do a lot of those. I think
Yeah.
maybe only archetype reveals is probably the only streams that probably don't need a PowerPoint. But whenever we're completely diving into a system like Nodes
Yes.
or like how we had with freehold, I imagine crafting would need a PowerPoint, stuff like that. I really like the slideshow format. Yeah, I you know I respect the post.
Piggybacking off of something you said earlier, you're talking about them rehashing stuff from like 2-3 years ago, and what he said the same thing. Um, you said it was needed. I had kind of the initial thought when I watched it the first time. I was like, oh, they did show some of the stuff that they did initially. But then if you go back and you listen to Steven preface some things, he makes a comment, and I can't remember where it's at, guys. Guys, I've only watched the live stream 3 times, so I can't like pinpoint the hours and minutes down. But there's a point where he goes, hey, I just want to preface this by stating like a lot of this has to do with visual fidelity. And he goes, and also we want to go back and we want to show things that we showed 3 years ago to show the community that they still exist. Like he said something along those lines, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I thought about that, and I was trying to connect the dots about why he was saying that. And this is my tinfoil hat theory, guys. Like we're gonna put our tinfoil hats on. We're gonna go in the basement. We're gonna get our flashlights. But my theory is if you guys remember the Freehold live stream, there was a big fracas. We're gonna say fracas about how not everybody was going to get a freehold, and Steven, Sharif, and Intrepid went against their word. Like that was the argument. I'm not saying I agree with it. That was the argument. And so people had to go back and they had to like show like, hey, this is actually what it's always been. They've just kind of narrowed down exactly how many freeholds we were going to get, but they never said everybody's going to get a freehold.
Yeah.
I feel like he intentionally said that to show like, hey, we're not going back against our word on nodes. We're going to show some of the same stuff because we want to show you we're continuing the same vision that we started, to show you 3 years ago about nodes. And so I could be wrong, but I think that's why we got a lot of the same like crafting, constructing, and those sorts of things. I want to be like, hey, this still exists. It hasn't changed. We're not changing. We're just upgrading these things. So, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think that's a good theory. I think that's a good theory. I think I kind of remember the quote he said. He said that the last presentation of nodes in their visual state, like in Alpha 1 or in Richie's video, they weren't up to the visual standard that he envisioned and set for himself. And it was kind of like a placeholder. So he wanted to show like, hey, that's not what we wanted to look. We wanted nodes to look like this. I think that's what made it a big deal, because when they had nodes presented for Alpha 1, he's like, hey, this isn't what I envisioned, but it works for now, but this is what his vision is. This is what we're seeing right now is his vision. So yeah, I think he wanted to get that point across. Yeah.
Jeff Robb made a comment and he goes, bruh, plenty new was said. Mandates are a whole new system. Yeah, exactly. We didn't even cover that. They completely brought in a whole new system. So yeah, I don't agree with everything he said, but I did agree with parts of it. And I thought it was mostly constructive. So I thought it'd be worth reading.
Nice. I'm just looking at the stream footage again. It's such a great visual stream. Like that's one thing I better not see any complaints about. I see a lot of complaints about the shadows, like a lot.
Yes.
Still, but I don't get it. I mean, I guess people want to. I could see them getting brighter. Like people talk about the contrast, but I mean, it's not worth nitpicking to me,
Yeah, there's actually a post that we'll get to later that discusses the shadows. I know you're shocked. Okay. So it was constructive. But yeah, we could talk about an hour. We can wait till we get to it. Up to you. Because I feel like that was the biggest complaint coming out of the node stream. And so if your biggest complaint is shadows are too dark, I mean, I feel like it was a decent node stream.
Yes.
So
yes. Which one do you want to tackle next?
I'm looking at the Lineker one. The Lineker always writes pretty good stuff. And so nice. You want to read through that one?
Sure. So let's see. This is from Lineker. He says, this was definitely the best live stream ever for me. Okay. Perfect showcase of the progress made. That it was. Yeah, that's true. How do you feel about the Village Node update so far? He says, all I have to say is congrats to the devs that pulled this off. very impressive. I have extensive footage of Winstead in Alpha 1 and comparing it side by side, actually looking at the systems that were in place, mayorship, crafting, building, etc., and seeing this much progress with a lot of complexity and development on top of those systems, plus more, is very reassuring. I simply can't understand the mind of someone who says, we've already seen this, when the amount of progress is this big, both front and back end. So if I know Lineker, I want to go ahead and stop right here and go ahead and attack this subject, if you will. Um, I think I would actually like for someone who has a lot of Alpha 1 footage to actually do, I don't know if Lineker does content. I think he does, but I would love to see someone do like a side-by-side comparison in a video commentary. I think that'd be really good. I think a lot of people need to see that because yes, a lot of it we saw this stage in Alpha 1, whatever the case may be, but I mean, if you just look at it visually, like we're in a whole new ballpark, in my opinion. I think we're in a whole new ballpark. So it is progress. I think I think he makes a fair statement there. Um, he
Yeah.
goes on to say, oh, go ahead, respond to that.
I just wanted to quickly chime in. If you guys do have Alpha 1 footage, but you don't have a channel, I'm pretty sure me or Nice would be more than happy to try and show the side by sides of what's going on. So if you guys wanted to reach out to either, I'm speaking for you. Like I probably shouldn't do that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, if you guys want to reach out to us on Discord, either one of us, just so like I do think this is important to show like the visual differences because I think it's a lazy way to say like we've already seen this when they're drastically different. And so yeah. If you have Alpha 1 footage of the Winstead like Lineker here does or whatever, and you don't have a channel, we'd be more than happy to try and post the differences. So
with a huge shout out. And you get street cred.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be very interesting to like kind of see it side by side. I think that'd be really good. Next question is, what excites you about playing and interacting with the node system? He answers by saying, I just want to get to testing. Hands-on, it's simply a very complex system to give feedback and comment without testing first. Very fair. Next question was, is there anything in particular you're excited or concerned about regarding what was shown with the Village node update? He says, I absolutely love the node currency system. Yes, me too. I think that's really interesting. Mandates are an amazing idea to prevent mayors from messing up the node. Yes, I like that they are already. I think that's something that we gotta appreciate. Intrepid's already thinking ahead with the intricacies or the flaws, the workarounds in this system. Like I like that. Yes. I think I would count maybe 8 different occasions they discussed the quote unquote bad mayor or what's the worst thing that they can do. How much power should we or could we put into players' hands? And I love that they're thinking that far ahead. And as far as the node currency system, I love the fact that citizens have a vote in things, but the mayor still has the power to override them at the cost of I think it was a cost of certain currency or their whatever that power was. I think that's just I think that's amazing. And it shows that they care. They're not just saying, yeah, and then, I think we've seen that in games where the developers make a system and then the players immediately exploit it or abuse it.
Yes.
And then they try to fix it early, like, oh, we didn't account for that. No, they're even before actual testing, they're already thinking ahead. And I think that shows a lot about their development team.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off that very, very briefly. But it reminds me of we've talked about this before, so it's just another way we can rehash it. But when New World first came out, like it was initially portrayed as like an always-on PvP thing, and then right before it revealed, they put a toggle in. And what happened with the toggle system is now all of a sudden you have this big open world that was supposed to be like, hey, somebody's gonna be could be chopping a tree by you, and PvP it's on, like it was gonna be something like that. And now it's not. And now like the world looks kind of boring. They didn't really think further. And it just seems like every time you watch Intrepid introduce one of these systems, it's, hey, we had a discussion about the system and we've already weighed, and it's not that they're perfect, but they've already weighted the pros and cons that they've initially seen, and they already have counters, like things in place, like, okay, if we introduce this, what could happen? And I think that's just such a great you see the attention to detail a lot that I don't normally see in like other gaming studios.
Very well said. Well said. We don't get that level of care or these guys, and I think just to attack this one more time, these guys are real MMO players. They've played in maybe not a node system, but they've played in a lot of different MMO systems. They know what the potential workarounds are. They know what the potential abuses, the downsides, what they long story short, me and Els like that they're thinking ahead, which is, I mean, it says a lot. um let's see. He goes on to say, I also really enjoyed that you moved away from the NPC champion for military elections. Yeah, I was never a fan of that, even in concept. I know that Ashes isn't a game that's balanced for 1v1. I know that they want to really kind of give each player a chance and whatever, but I was never a fan of like throwing some RNG into the mix with like you select an NPC and hope that your NPC. I don't know that I. Okay, never mind. That's what the next words in his post is. I hated that idea. I hate. I don't. Was anybody for that idea? I'm actually curious. It just seemed like not to be rude, but to me it seemed like a horrible idea. But to be fair, it was an idea that was I guess created to combat Ashes not being a 1v1 and intentioned game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he says, hate when games make me play other characters that are not my main. And that's another thing. I don't know if that champion system was NPCs fight for you or you have to choose this pre-made champion. I don't. It just seemed like we never really got much details on the military nodes, right? But yeah, it just seemed weird. Lineker goes on to say, the new approach seems awesome and lots of fun. Can't wait to test it. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Love the idea of military nodes. Um, he says, love the buy order idea. Definitely a fan of that too. He says, this can cause friction with the mayor decisions on who to inform, and I like friction. I miss being emotionally invested in MMOs. Yeah, that goes back to the insider trader stuff we be talking about. Uh, the last question he answers is the question that says, what are your thoughts about the visual fidelity of what was shown with the village node update? His answer is, visuals are simply stunning. You managed to give Winstead a very unique style for Kalar humans with the architecture and layout, and it looks honestly ready for launch. Didn't look like an alpha at all besides bugs. Lighting and colors are good. NPCs look good with the new models, and armor style on the characters are 10 out of 10. What do you think about his last statement there with the visuals as far as it being like not even looking like an alpha and the lighting and the character models, et cetera, et cetera?
I thought it was great. Like I'm not a graphic visual like guy. Like for me the gameplay is more important, but I came away looking at the graphics for this reveal. And I told you on the system side, I don't know if I said it in the last live stream. Like Nice has said before, like one of his things is like everybody has like their favorite live stream where they go back and say like, hey, this art at this point in time, this was my best one. And so for Nice, yours is the Melee showcase, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So for him is the Melee. This one is mine. I thought it was so well done, and obviously like the cape is a huge carry. But even if the cape, even if the cape didn't exist, like if we remove the cape from the entire situation, I thought the armor was great. I thought walking up to the node was great. I thought the lighting and shades were great considering it was in the morning. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I just thought everything looked fantastic, and I completely agree. Like outside of like the apple smithing and a few other like visual errors, I thought it looked awesome and it looked ready for launch as is. So that's my opinion.
We were talking on Discord, like kind of like the Steven Sandal thing. Like I think those might be collectibles or whatever. But
yeah,
we were talking on Discord. Like I really hope apple smithing is like tied into the lore somehow, or there's an apple smithing quest. I don't expect a whole artisan tree for it, but
yeah.
I hope that stays there. Like it just seems like one of those things that's going to be like community lore, like if you know, you know, kind of things.
Yeah. So maybe for like the introductory like blacksmithing quest, a guy's teaching you how to blacksmith and like he accidentally grabs apples and he's like, oh my bad. Like you actually.
Yes, that's perfect. Something little, like a little nod to it, you
Yeah.
know? I think that would be really cool. Hashtag Applesmith. Hashtag Applesmith.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Let's see. Let's find another one. Wow, the very next comment is probably the most insightful. Right after Lineker's. Lineker's post has nothing on this guy. Nuarith? Yeah, that's big time. I like
Yeah,
this guy's opinion.
I got nothing else to say to that. So,
Yeah, like that's it. Period. Like what are you gonna say against that? Let's see.
scrolling here, try
Um,
to find the next big one.
yeah. Go ahead and skip ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and start reading from Aragon here. I don't know where he goes with this, but it looks lengthy. He says, I
There we
think
go.
it looks really good so far on the village node level. It looks amazing in terms of the art. Can't wait to see what the other nodes look like and how the village will progress towards a town and metropolis level. I was looking forward to seeing something more with regards to how these nodes develop from a small encampment. I agree with that. He said up to higher levels and how it will interact with the environment, but I guess we'll have to wait for another time as it would be a lot of work to create those presets. Fair. Yeah, definitely fair. I'm excited to see how developing nodes with or will unlock new content for players. How the general populations of NPCs and monsters will react to a node developing. Hoping to see things like dungeons unlocking, PvE raids on your node settlement with enough forewarning, and raid bosses appearing within its zone of influence. I worry for the sheer amount of content these nodes are going to require on a development standpoint. Ooh, let me highlight that. It is going to take quite some time to build up the visuals and layouts for each of the 6 stages of the 80 plus nodes for a world. But I trust you guys can get it done. Just will take time, lots of patience required. I'm going to pause right here because this is something I don't want to just speed by and attack later. He says, I worry for the sheer amount of content these nodes are going to require on from a development standpoint. I think that's a fair worry. And just looking at this one node and the progress, which is great progress. And I mean, once again, we can't say it enough times this episode how visually stunning this showcase was. Doing that for 79 more nodes and the stuff that you got developed, and then we all know that nodes interact with every system in the game. It has such a big influence on the game. It's what makes Ashes of Creation separate from any of its any MMOs that came before it, right? Um I think that's a lot of work for the development team, but I'm hoping, which I think they and I think you brushed on it earlier as well. Is there no one else? As far as like, I hope they're able to not exactly just straight up copy and paste so that the economic node over here is the same exact layout as the economic node over here. You know, give each one its flavor as it levels up. But I hope they have that tech in place, which I think they alluded to kind of make that system smooth. But I'm pretty sure they alluded to that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah. How I interpreted it is they have a design in place or a system in place to where they'll be able to apply the art to nodes and construct them in different areas. So the 80 individual node designs won't be hard from an artistic standpoint. What will be hard is how each node will have its own questing and storylines. And
Mm.
I think that's super interesting, and yeah, like that is something I didn't even think about until he brought this up. I'm like, man, like think about the difference between a node by the sea, a node out, in a grassy knoll, and then another node by a mountain. Like there's just going to be
Yeah.
so many different storylines in those areas, and so or different questing things and stuff like that. And so incorporating that and making those things unique and fun and interesting is going to be that'll also be quite the undertaking. So yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, like and I mean we gotta assume it's not gonna be an easy copy paste. Like every metropolis is not gonna be the same diameter. It's not gonna be the same amount of length, duration. It's gonna be different elevations. It's gonna be like you said, near coast, or maybe then you gotta account for how it looks at each stage, how far out that area goes, and before they even get to that part, they got to have all the ZOIs pre-laid out on the map.
Yeah.
Then you have things like I was looking into it before I posted on the forums today. What do you call them? Docks. How the zone of influence gets control of those seaports or whatever, and it's just like it's a lot. The easier they can make it, the better. And I think that's going to be quite the challenge, but I would imagine they got ways to make it easy, that once they construct one, that it's easier to work on the next one. And obviously they got to change some things, like this node has some a crazy amount of hills next to it, so when this levels to a metropolis, there's not buildings there. There's just like a couple of windmills. Whereas the other node, it was just flat. It was easy to put, okay, oh my gosh, holy crap, else. And then you got to think about, like, you can put buildings and, you choose where you're going to put this blacksmith station, or this is going to be this kind of building.
Yeah.
Like, then each one has to, like, okay, where are the plots of land going to be? And then you got to factor in each having different art styles. Like, this is a huge undertaking. I think this guy has a point here, but I know Intrepid has a way of making it easy. Once they get the basis down, the next one, I mean, we've all had jobs where, or maybe we've all had jobs where it takes you a while to make that spreadsheet, but once you got it and you got your formulas in, then the next thing you got to plug in is pretty simple. Rough example, but you guys kind of get what I mean there.
Yep.
So I imagine it's going to be a similar concept. Yes, it's still going to be a lot of development time for each node because, like I said, I don't think it's as easy as copy and pasting, but nevertheless, I think it's something worth. I think it was a worthy mention by him.
Jeff Rob here says, remember that super old video of them making software to have the nodes be way more automated? It shows they're making the program for it. And then Gallwood says, Steven did say later that they have a terrain template and a node layout system, and those interact in a bit of a procedural way. Sounds complex. So yeah, I think a lot of these, like setting up the node is already kind of like, I think they've built that system maybe. I don't know, but and I think it would have been fun to hear them, for a guy that likes to hear about these things, it would have been fun to hear them go into detail more about that system and how complex it is. It does sound very complex, but they just kind of brushed over it during the live stream. Yes. And I think a lot of people just saw it as like, oh yeah, they're just showing new art, like they haven't done much. And it's like, well, this is actually a big deal, and like it's a lot of work. And if they highlighted it a little bit more, like people would understand a little bit more how much work it was that they did. So
hey, so I got a random inspiration for a topic just now. You know what? This just came to me. I forgot exactly what you just said that made me think of this, but it was something you just said. I'm pretty sure they got the basis of this game ready, especially with the technology to essentially, let's say, copy paste or procedural create future nodes once they get one laid out, right?
Yeah.
I want to touch on something that Margaret said during the stream. And shout out to Margaret, amazing piece of Intrepid's team. She said something about and it might have been her and or Steven. I hope I don't got that. I'm not remembering that incorrectly. But anyways, that something about we don't want to see the gray box stuff. We don't want to see the raw development thing. And they've talked about this plenty of times, especially Steven has talked about this plenty of times where before these showcases, they upscale a lot of things so that it's in a presentable look. And that's for obviously us, the viewer. They don't want us nitpicking everything or anything like that. We don't want to see the raw stuff, or, you don't want to walk around seeing hitboxes. And you know what? I think especially the core community would not mind seeing the bare bones look of Ashes of Creation's progress. Maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think it's very viable or very likely that a lot of us wouldn't mind seeing bare bones art. I would love to see a node go from stage 2 to stage 3, or I would love to see something being constructed and just give us like, and obviously, like, I mean, hell, Steven prefaces every stream like saying, hey, this is pre-alpha progress. Keep that in mind. And people still go judge it like it's a AAA title 5 years and, released. That's just how people judge Ashes of Creation. But I think if they say, hey, I mean, not a whole stream. We don't want a whole bare bones stream, but I wouldn't mind like a video or a small teaser video of like saying, hey, here's what we got so far. Here's it's gray box. We're not gonna have specific art and lighting on this, but here's a node going from stage 2 to stage 3, and just seeing that raw stuff. I know it's not for everyone. A lot of people probably don't want to see that stuff in development, but I think there's a lot of stuff that a lot of us of the community wouldn't mind seeing in its bare bones format, especially if they put like I mean, maybe they got to print it on the, on the screen, like a work in progress there. So no one can like clip it out of context. Like, oh, Ashes of Creation looks crappy. I think we would be open to seeing a lot of that stuff. They've done that before. It might have been with, was it like, it was a really, I want to say almost Alpha Zero video. I don't know if it was a freehold stream or where they were talking about nodes. I don't know. It was something. They've shown the gray box stuff before, not like as a live presentation, but I know they've shown it before. And I'm curious on if people agree with that or if they only want the beautiful graphics like we've seen in this node showcase.
So I'm not against seeing it for the same things you brought up. Galwood actually has a quote here, I guess, from Steven. They were asked about the gray box stuff, and he said, likely not. We've tried tool streams in the past, and they didn't click well with the broader audience, nor did they provide valuable feedback, which is why we have transparent development. And then he says, I think he has made a policy change not to show how the sausage is made, to my dismay. Yeah, I agree with that too, because like, yeah, you wanna be able to make live stream videos that go viral in a way to where you have bigger content creators like Asmongold, Lazy Peon, like these sorts of creators, like bringing more eyes to your thing, and I think I can see how like the gray box stuff would go against that. Like, oh man, this game's 50 years away at this point. This game's so I could definitely see that. I don't personally, like, I'm enamored by the systems. I don't care like if it's dolled up or dressed down, whatever. Like the systems are what's interesting to me. So I agree with you, Nice. I would be cool with that, but I could also see the argument for not. So
yeah, I definitely see the downsides, especially if it's someone's first time learning about the project. And I think something that's a fair counter argument to myself, to be fair, a fair counter argument to myself is that kind of like what I said, but Alpha 2 gets enough critique when they show the scaled up stuff. There's people out there complaining about the node showcase visually, I bet, or the previous showcase. That's what they almost, not a finished product, but that's close to their finished product, right? I think it's fair to say what we see visually is it's not going to be a dramatic change. Obviously, there's going to be more polish and it's going to look even more crisp, but there's people that see this and they're still like, man, looks old, or man, looks like a PlayStation 2 game. So I can see, I get Steven's logic there and his mindset there, to be fair. I just think that if they squeezed it in some like footage, like don't do a whole stream of it, because I mean you never know who's it's their first time seeing the game. But I think a little bit wouldn't hurt, but at the same time, I think I see the obvious negatives now that I'm looking at it in that light. That's fair. Here, let's finish this post. He says, I think the visuals are outstanding. I haven't experienced the game much better than this. The sheer amount of decoration and artistic small things is wonderful to see. The attention to details. With regards to the new building up visuals, I think the scaffolding going up and down doesn't feel right. Not sure if that was intended or not, but I feel the scaffolding should go up and then remain until the entire part of the building that was being constructed is built before removing the scaffolding. It would just be a real pain for the builders to keep having to take it down, put it back up again to the same place, finish the whole side of the building before taking it down. I think all that was just it was a buggy mess. It was sped up. It was obviously a placeholder. I think people are looking into the scaffolding too much. I think it was just like,
that's how scaffolding
I don't think that
wasn't. Yeah, go on.
I think it was. I don't know. I just think it was like not their intentions. What was shown, it didn't look like an efficient building process to be judged. I don't think that's literally how they meant it to go. I don't know.
So I helped my parents build their retirement house. We did everything but the concrete, the basement floor. We did everything else but that. The first thing you do is you put your studs up, and you get that going, and you get your floors, your first and second floor studs. You get the bones built, right? And so you have your scaffolding outside for the first floor and the second floor, and then you go back down to the first floor to start getting your plywood or your sheeting up to cover the outside. And so then you put that up, and you put that all the way up on the second floor as well. And then you take the scaffolding down again, and then you do your Tyvek or whatever for your outer like protective wind barrier, rain, water shit. And then you stuff. Sorry guys, my kids aren't here, so I get to swear once. And then after that, you put on your siding. And so, yes, it is extensive, but that's how scaffolding is used. Like once the scaffolding goes up, like you can't get below the next stuff, and you can't just, you want to make sure everything's square when you initially put it up. And so it is just a process. So I don't think it's a bad way to go about doing it. So for the realistic people out there, like if you have a small group of people building a house, like that's what it would look like. And not everybody has like these really professional construction teams. So that's just my experience. Like the scaffolding going up and down wasn't a bad thing in my opinion. So
okay. I mean, if it makes sense from a realistic standpoint, I just assumed all of it was just like a whole placeholder.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it very well could have been, but yeah, like that's how we had to do it for the house up at the farm. So
before you get into which one were you gonna go to next?
The next one's gonna be the lighting one, like 5 or 6 down.
Okay. Before we get to that one, I want to look at something that Golf Ghost posted.
Sure.
Not the whole post, but I was just kind of skimming through, and it jumped out to me. He says, "I am like kind of in the middle." He says, "I am afraid people's mounts can be a little too much clutter for a node. Let's say 1,000 or more." I didn't even think about mounts being in the town, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some large mounts. Like if you talk about if we're looking at that main like city, that main street that was in the node, so to speak.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna make you demount in town, or like how that's gonna be, or if, I don't know. I didn't even think about the mounts there, but it probably won't be too big of a deal. But I'm thinking back to the Elder Scrolls Online, where I don't know. I mean, that game, I've seen a lot of people in a main city hub, and it didn't seem too cluttered. But that he's maybe seeing that narrow street made him think about that. Or I remember one update, or I don't know if it's actually live, but where they had the option to hide people's pets because the pets was just so much clutter themselves, or they would sometimes block crafting stations and stuff like that. So I guess it's I can see it being a concern, but I'm sure people want to ride their mounts through the city, so maybe just like disallowing it won't be good. So I don't know. I guess it's one of those things we'll have to see, especially once we play on a populated server.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because we don't know how big these what is there, 80 nodes, and there's going to be like 15,000 people roughly. Like if we're going to do an average, I said anywhere from 10 to 20,000 people per server, right? Was that the right numbers?
Yes. Yeah, about 10,000 to 15,000, but 10,000 concurrent, I think, was the last numbers we got. Okay, like 15,000 allowed on the server, but 10,000 could be on, I think. I'm not 100, but that's what I remember.
Okay, so if it's 10,000 concurrent, 80 nodes, that means anywhere of 100 people per node, roughly. So
yeah,
I don't think you have to worry too. I mean, obviously the bigger city nodes, like you're going to have more people, you're going to have more dense spots, but I think it's going to be rare that you're going to see 1,000, and I think you're going to see a city node grow up to a much larger point before you see that many people. I could be wrong, but yeah, it'll be interesting because we've seen a lot of people in a city before, and mounts never seem to get in the way, but we could be wrong.
Yeah. All right, what's the poster that you wanted to go to next?
Yeah, so scroll all the way down past the Vaknar posts, past Avok, and go to GUI 10.
Got it.
And he says, I'm aware lighting has had its load of criticism. It can be hard to have great lighting. Lighting is such an important part of player immersion, gameplay, graphics, realism, feel of the game. Here's my opinion, suggestions on how it could be better and make the game more fun to play for me. A bit less dark in the shadow area, a bit less glaring in the glaring area. Shadows don't mean a total eclipse of light, and light doesn't mean a total glaring brightness, especially on some natural ground would be a different on a metallic surface, for example. It's easier on the eyes, more pleasing, soothing, lets me see more things, more details, all the while being more realistic. So I thought this was a good post. I thought this is a good post because he actually highlights his perspective and showing the lighting versus the shading system. My counter is that I did think most of the shading was fine. I personally thought it was fine, considering it was more like mid morning, early morning sorts of sunlight, and like that's what it looks like when you're in a city. Like the shadows are extremely dark in those types of environments, and so realistically, I think it makes sense. But then from a gaming perspective, I can see how it would be very annoying that you're trying to do a quest, and like if a quest giver's in a shadow, and so. I could absolutely agree that, like blending the shadows just a little bit to make them a little bit lighter. I think that makes a lot of sense. And his example is perfect.
It's such a perfect example. Everyone that I've seen complain about the shadows or whatever, they didn't really have like perfect pictures like this. I like this. I love what he said here. I like that he provided and I think this is probably one of the best examples. There was a part earlier in the stream where I think it was when they went into the caravansary. It was like really dark in there, but I mean, it was the absence of light. I mean, they were under there, but I did think it was a little too dark. But I think a lot of the people complained too much because I think it was like I think like you, IRL, the shadows are shadows. It's a little bit darker, but in this specific image, I definitely see what he means. I think now looking at it from this perspective, looking at this specific image, that it could be a little bit brighter, or I don't know the right terms here, but maybe I think you contrast it a little bit better. But I don't think it's like oh my gosh, redo this. But I think it's important and good feedback because I would like to see that be just a little bit like I'm kind of with him on this one in this specific image, if that makes sense. Because even though it's a shadow, that looks like nighttime in that little area. It doesn't look like a shadow, so. I could see that. And that's just like a minor tweak I'm sure they do on their end. They don't got to go redo anything. That's literally just bringing the slider over just a little bit. I hope they don't overdo it because I like I like that shadows are a thing. I want shadows to look like shadows, but like you said, not at the cost of not being able to see something that's over there or whatever. So, okay, that's fair. I like that he actually had a good supporting image here.
Yeah, my perspective is when people are complaining about the shadows, I was like, why? And then I saw the example and I was like, okay, that's why. Because when you look at that wall, it almost looks like part of the game's cut out. It's just a black screen. Almost. Yeah. And so I totally get that perspective. Vizini here says Lumen in Unreal Engine 5 should have taken care of those shadows. It's likely they had to turn Lumen off because it's not as performant as we all hoped. And so their belief is, Jeff Robb says the Unreal Engine 5 reveal had good shadows. So I think it's a justifiable complaint, especially in this specific situation. I can't disagree with this. So, but yeah, I thought it was at least good to bring forward the other argument because you and I were both like, shadows, who cares?
Yeah.
and then we saw this and we're like, okay, they saw something we didn't. So
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. They were just paying better attention than us. We were so distracted by, you know what else? In our defense, cape.
Yeah. I mean, how can you pay attention to this when there's a cape right here? Like, there's a cape right there in front of your face. It's like, when they have those female or male people working out and they're like, hey, what was written on the back wall? And you're like, what are you talking about? This is what I see. like it's just the capes in the way. I don't see anything else.
They'll have like a completely naked girl, and in the background, they'll be like, "What color was her bed? What color was her bed sheets? There was a bed? What?
Yeah. Well, what are you talking about?"
Here, let's go to a different forum post. We got a couple here.
Sure.
Let's see. Let's bring up. Let's see. What's the first one? So the first one is gonna be an Ashes of Creation forum post titled AOC should increase the time it takes to reach level cap. I'll say that again. AOC should increase the time it takes to reach level cap. Now, I thought this was a interesting one. So he says, and this is from poster Raven 016. He says character leveling is best to be in sync with node leveling. Ooh. Then
Uh,
once the character
Hold
reached
on,
max
hold on.
level,
Sorry, I think I had the wrong one. You said AOC should take its time to reach level cap. That one.
yes.
Okay, so the post says it's from there. It is. Okay. Okay, so you're on page 2 of it.
Oh, I am.
Yeah. Okay. So the original post is from
Oh
George
yeah, there
Black.
it is. There it's from
Okay.
George. I'm sorry. I don't know
Yeah, you're
why
good.
it oh, because I was looking at it earlier. Never mind.
Yep.
Anyways, so let me redo that. AOC should increase the time it takes to reach level cap by George_Black. Here we go. Currently, Steven said that a very active MMO player will need 45 days more or less to reach level cap. This game is shaping up to be wonderful. Here is this month's dev update describing gameplay revolved around mayor elections and mayor decisions that affect your community, in parentheses nodes. He goes on to say, I think people will be happier if it took 120 days to reach level cap and freeholds be accessible at level 30. So he's saying that currently it's 45 days to reach max level as estimated by the devs, and that he wants it to take about 120 days to reach that level cap and freeholds to be accessible at level 30. He goes on to say, there is so much to do. People won't be bored of grinding levels because there's a million of gameplay avenues. And the best part of a longer journey, it may seem like it never ends, even though 120 days seems like nothing to me, like a table of food that is filled to the brim despite all the other hungry guests. Increase to 120 days, in my honest opinion, and freeholds at level 30. The reason I selected this one is because there's two things. The first thing is I know, I mean, obviously we gotta trust what the devs say. I mean, I think they know a little bit more about Ashes of Creation than me, but Steven's intended level grind, or what they estimate, is that it will take players X amount of days. I think it's 45 per this poster. I think that either players will find a way to do that even quicker, or that we just can't really, or it may even take longer, and so that we shouldn't really hold that to law. Um, so, and also I think with the game being pre-alpha and everything like that, we shouldn't even. I mean, it's something to consider, but I don't think we should go ahead and say, "Hey, decrease the XP that this activity gives, so that we got to play the game longer, and it takes longer to level up because we haven't really got our hands on the product."
Yeah.
I don't think. I think as long as these activities aren't tied to level, it should be irrelevant how long it takes you to reach max level. And the reason I say that is, Ashes of Creation is a very, very unique and dynamic game in that. And I hate to use the term. They hate the term end game, but I'll try to use it here. I think end game is going to be something that's not really activities that are locked out to max level. I think end game is going to be the interactions in the world, the node sieges, the random dungeon boss that springs up because of your server advancing a military node in a specific area. It's going to be that naval content. It's going to be like, what is your artisan tree? What are you doing? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's because Ashes of Creation, and he says it here. Um, he says something here about there being so much. Yeah, he says it right here. There is so much to do. People won't be bored of grinding levels because there's a million of gameplay avenues. Is that not more reason not to worry about the level cap? Is that not more reason to not push the level, not increase the grind? Because it's almost irrelevant in the bigger scheme of things. Because like you get into max level doesn't take away that role play factor of oh, I'm gonna be a lumberjack and I'm gonna sell a lot of wood at the town, or it doesn't take away from your naval content rotation. It doesn't take. I don't think levels in Ashes of Creation take away from much. Yes, there's some end game activities that's gonna probably require you to be level 50, a certain dragon, a certain world boss, but I don't think level grinding is something that we as a community have to be worried about because of Ashes of Creation's system, and because of those billions of things you got to do.
So I first want to say I know why you sent this. You wanted to make me upset, Nice. You wanted to make me really angry for this live stream. and it
Why is
almost
that?
worked. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. I'm kind of kidding. It's not actually going to make me upset because there's nothing. I understand his point of view of wanting to have like the game be more about the journey. I disagree with the game being more about the journey via leveling for taking longer to level. Because let's be honest, there's going to be two aspects of players. People that are going to want to enjoy the journey and roam the world and do these sorts of things. And the hardcore PvPers that will want to get to endgame as fast as possible, get the best gear as fast as possible, and then dominate all the low levels because they think it's funny. Like there's going to be those two types of people. Just like I think that 45 days is enough. I feel like 45 days is more than long enough for a grind. And part of me thinks that the entire MMO system of having a third of a year go towards getting to max level is just busy work that other games have gotten away with for years. Like it shouldn't be about this. Like it shouldn't be about getting to end game. Like this game's end game is going to be different. Like we talked about this. We don't have to rehash it anymore, but this version of endgame isn't about the end process of like getting to level 60. Like you said, you also have your node progression. You also have your artisan profession. You have your boating profession, hunting, animal husbandry, these sorts of things. Like you have other forms of progression you're going to have to do. Then you have your armor progression, gear, like leveling, these sorts of things. And then also maintaining and updating things, defending and attacking in wars. Like you're going to have all these other things. So getting to level 60 shouldn't be a third of a year. And so I like his idea that like, hey, we should enjoy the world. I think you don't have to put a stopgap and say it takes 120 days to grind in order to get there, because we've already seen it. We've already seen it with New World. I had two friends very excited to play it, and they go, dude, I grinded 80 hours and I got to level 30 and I quit.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
And that's why it was so hard for us to get other friends to play that game, because like and aren't we all tired of hearing this? Oh, once you get to this point, it's really good. It's like, you ever have a friend put you onto a show and they say, oh, just make it past season 1, bro. It gets so good in season 2. It's like, I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, most of those cases are good. We've all watched a great show that maybe just started off too slow or whatever. But with video games, like, I hate I remember when I was like maining New World, judge me later, but I remember maining New World and I'm trying to get like, dude, this game is so fun. I'm having so much fun in the PvP. Dude, just go ahead and grind it out to 60, whatever. It's going to be really good once you get past this point. And they're trying and they know that, and they get to level 30 and they're like, dude, like, this is not fun leveling. And that's also, I mean, it's not an apples to apples comparison because leveling in New World just isn't fun, right? But it's like, they can't get past that hump because of the grind, and they're not enjoying the grind. They're not enjoying that journey.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, I will play devil's advocate here because I'm kind of 50-50 on the issue. Is that I think an issue is that us as MMO players, and maybe it's just a generational issue, they want to rush to endgame. They want it to be done. They don't want to enjoy the journey, and it's not good for people to rush through a game. But you don't rush through a game when you're enjoying it. Ashes of Creation has so much going on that you don't have to rush it. But if you want to rush it, if you want to do, and if rushing is considered 45 days, then I mean, I don't know what to say against that. But I think it's fair. I don't think players want to grind all day. And I think a lot of titles, like El said, has moved away from that for a reason. Now, I don't want nothing handed to people, just hand it over like, oh, just, I want to be max level in 3 days. Like, no, don't do that. I don't think none of us is advocating for that. But I think you need to really keep track of what makes your players happy. And if you're going to have a grind, if you're going to have a long experience that way, you need to make it enjoyable. And I think, even with freeholds being locked to max level, that's we've talked about that before. That's incentive for people to get to end game. But as long as the journey is done well, you don't got to worry about players getting burnt out per se. And I think New World is the best example of this. Like we said, New World, me and Is There No One Else started playing New World during the Brimstone Sands release. As new players, we never touched it at launch. Thank God. And we had a long grind, and friends that we put on the game, like, hey y'all, let's try this. Let's try a different MMO. We put our communities onto this, and hey, let's try a new MMO. and everyone disliked the grind. They was like, dude, it's taking too long because you can't even PvP at low level, by the way. So that was a
Yeah,
horrible
we couldn't
design flaw in
find anybody.
itself.
We couldn't
Couldn't
find
even find
anybody.
anybody. And what we were told is shut up and stop complaining, not because we wanted to rush through it, but because the players that played at launch had it like 3 times worse. Like apparently at launch, people put in like 500 hours and was not level 50 or whatever max level is in that game.
Yeah.
And and what we had at Brimstone was still a pretty long grind. And so that goes to show you that that's not the way to keep players happy. You don't have to make the grind longer for people to experience the journey. And I think that goes, I don't know. That's my take on it, at least.
I think back when we started, and I do, like, we talk about New World's release. I think New World is a fun game now. I think their new release coming up, I think it's another step in the right direction. And I think it could be pretty good. We'll have to see when we actually get to play it. So we're not like saying New World is a shit game. New World had a shit release. Like that's the biggest point we're trying to make. And I did a video on New World when it first came out, and I did like 40 hours in and then 100 hours in, if I remember correctly. And one of the things I remember saying, and I'm going to stab myself with this is I said, now getting to level 60 sucks. And the only thing that kept me around from doing it, or kept me doing it, is because like I had you, Zilla, and other people, and like we'd get bored, we would duel each other. And so we actually got to see combat, and that's the only thing I think that kept us grinding towards endgame, is because we knew that the combat was fun. We couldn't find other people to fight, but we all leveled together, and so we're like, this is fun. This is challenging. This is very exciting. It's rewarding. Mm-hmm. Once we grind to endgame, it's going to be very fun and a lot more competitive once we get there. And so that's what kept us playing that game. I watched, I forget who it was, but some guy, I think it was Ant on YouTube, and he was bashing Diablo 4. I think you sent it to me in our Discord. And he was bashing Diablo. And he made a critique video on Diablo 4, and he was talking about how grinding, playing the end game wasn't very fun, and these sorts of things. And he got a bunch of negative responses. And his comment was, he's like, I had a bunch of people saying like, how are you going to comment about Diablo 4 if you don't even play Endgame? Endgame's fantastic. Of course it's not going to be good when you're getting there. And his comment was like, so you agree with me that everything before Endgame sucks. You agree with me that all of this is not worth playing and it's pointless. Why are we arguing then if you agree that this is bad? Like, you should be having fun during this process so more people get to Endgame. And I heard that and I was like, God damn it, he's right. He's right. Like, he's absolutely right. And hearing it from that perspective, like, put me in a new perspective about New World, and it puts me in a new perspective about Ashes. Like, the grind, like, grinding to endgame, it shouldn't be a grind. It should be fun and it should be enjoyable. 120 days is a long ass time, though. Like, that is such a long time. And so I think 45 is more than long enough, but I get his point of view on we should enjoy the world, and a good game will have you enjoy the world. So
shout out to the Ant-Man. That was I remember sending that to you. That was an amazing video. It's basically like, I played through the whole campaign of this game.
Yeah.
Seen the whole world. And then there's people in his comment section like, bro, you're only level 55. You got to get to the real end game. It's like level 80. You got to grind it. Like, so just ignore this whole part, my whole experience so far. Like, yes. I think that correlates very well with Ashes. I don't think we need a long experience. Well said.
Rotten Treats here says, I think there's a much smaller subset of gamers that are willing to grind for a long time without the process of being engaging and not just a boring slog. New World was not enjoyable to grind. AOC should learn from New World's mistakes. 100%.
100%. 100%.
You had to grind the board. Right. Yeah, we didn't have to grind the board. So that was before our time. And thank freaking God, man, because those quests are even worse than what we did. Oh my God, that was brutal.
I can't imagine even worse quest experience than what we dealt with.
Yeah, the board quests apparently were the only way to get experience before. And so
I say it a lot, but I see why people don't. If you played at launch, I see why you don't give New World another chance. I really do.
Yep.
They can only depend on new players, because anyone that played at launch is not giving that game the time of day. They're scarred. They're literally scarred.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame him at all. Like, I think about the board. I think I've done like 10 quests on the board, and they were so freaking boring, man. They were always
Hmm.
boring.
Let's move to another topic here.
Sure.
It's titled Early Access. This is something we kind of touched up on before, kind of.
Okay.
It's something that's come up at some point, I'm sure, especially after Baldur's Gate 3's release. But I thought it was pretty cool to talk about again. Um, this forum post is from Grundvig. He says, Steven, let's get on the stick and follow Larian's lead of 3 years early access and getting solid feedback on the whole game. Baldur's Gate 3 is a solid game after all. After all that input from players playing the game, and their passion I can see is just like your passion for gaming. It isn't perfect and far from it, but actually launching the game for early access gave them great feedback. You can't get that just from testing like you have so far. You can do it. From the famous pep talk given to Nadia Kamanzi, you to Steven, can you just do it? So this guy in short is basically saying do early access, don't do these alpha testing and stuff like that. Just go ahead and release Ashes of Creation in early access, slowly fix it over time with player feedback. I have two things with this.
Okay.
First thing is, I mean, how big of a difference is early access compared to alpha testing and beta testing? We're gonna have alpha one. I mean, well, we've had alpha one. We're gonna have alpha two, beta one, beta two, I think. Like, what is the difference with Intrepid's one, open development, and then two, open testing than early access? It's almost essentially the same thing. Almost. I mean, obviously there's slight semantics or contrasting things you can say is a difference. Obviously it's not a fully released product in early access, but essentially we're gonna accomplish the same goal by testing these systems in alpha 2. So I don't really see the point of that. Also, we got to take into something. I have a certain mindset that Ashes of Creations Alpha 2 it's going to be judged as a final product, and almost as a final product, that is. And you get one shot with MMOs. If Steven was
Yeah.
to do early access, like if we got rid of this alpha testing and they just like, all right, let's release it, let's do early access, and then people didn't like it, or there was a lot of bugs, or this and that, you don't have the patience like you would with a Baldur's Gate 3, or let's say Starfield was early access. Let's say X amount. I mean, we've all played some early access games. Like I'm playing Outlast
Yeah.
Trials, which has been early access right now, and that's a great game. It's missing is content. And I think about that, but the MMO, I don't know if people have that patience or forgiveness with early access. And in my opinion, I think they don't need a full product day one. But I think if you put that alpha title, because we're doing true alpha testing, true beta testing. This isn't like hey, let's just do a network test. No, this is true alpha, true betas, and I think they accomplish the same goals. You do
Yeah.
alpha, you do a beta, and then you launch your MMO. I don't think this early access stuff is really applicable to an MMO, in my opinion.
So Galwood here says, "What's the best early access MMO with the troll face?" Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. There you go.
And I get this guy's point of view because he's basically saying, "When Alpha 2 can it be now?" And yeah, absolutely. I would love Alpha 2 to be now, 100%. I would like the Alpha 2 to be yesterday, so I could be playing it right now. I don't disagree with that, but what I will say, the difference between Baldur's Gate 3 and the difference between an MMO is the difference in combat and interacting with the systems. Baldur's Gate 3 is fantastic. It is a great game. You should absolutely go play it if you're not playing it. I highly recommend it. You would have a lot of fun doing it. But with that being said, it's a turn-based game. The combat isn't going to be as intricate as an MMO's combat. And so
Yes.
with that in mind, if somebody comes and they tried early access Ashes of Creation, just like Nice said, and the combat feels like shit, that's it. Like, that's what people are going to say. Combat feels like shit. Combat feels like shit. Like, why would I play this game? It feels like garbage. Remember, if people have been paying attention to Throne and Liberty, that's the exact same problem they're having right now. And so,
Mhm.
we like I watched them talk about they came out with an update saying it was going to come out early next year. We covered it on like episode 4 of the podcast, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there. And it's based like there were so many people just already like, I don't want to pay attention to this game. Like there's no way. Like there's so much wrong, and you think you're going to get it fixed in 4 months? No way.
Yeah.
And so those things have a way of having long standing. I don't think you should judge a game by alpha or beta, but I also think people will do it anyways, and you have to protect yourself a bit from it.
Yes. And like to shorten our response to this, imagine if Throne and Liberty's beta wasn't just like a weekend beta like they did, or I think it was like 1 week. Imagine if they just straight up released Dawn and Liberty, said, "Hey, pay your I don't know what their monthly subscription costs. Let's just say it's $20 a month or something." Imagine if that wasn't a temporary beta and they released Throne and Liberty early access. You paid for it and you can play it all day. And they released it with that current state, with that current
Yeah.
combat. And now you paid for it. You got 1 month out of it. Are you going to renew your subscription? You're not. You're not going to sit there and wait for it to get. It would be. They're saying it's going to be ready and fixed. I think December this year or something. Are you going to sit there and continue playing Throne and Liberty early access until December, and they're going to drop some big patch that corrects the combat? No.
Yep.
No. As crappy as Throne and Liberty's beta was, it at least accomplished a goal in that it was a test. And with that test, they're now taking feedback to fix it in the future. When you release a game early access, you don't get that crutch. You don't get that crutch at all. That game is out. You cannot take it offline. It's early access. That game is out. And the whole time you keep it off. I mean, a lot of people are going to come, but guess what? A lot of people are going to sign up. They're going to try that Throne and Liberty for 1 month or something, and they're going to get their hands on it. And if they don't like it, you're not getting that player back. You can try all the marketing and promotion, and some of them will come back. Just like some people came back to New World once they make some fixes. But you're probably not going to get that back a chance. It's going to be like, oh, pay that month. I didn't enjoy it. Got bored with it after 2 days. So yeah, that's the advantage of alpha and beta testing versus releasing the game at early access.
Fiddles here with the low blow. ESO cough ESO because it's in beta. Yeah. Yeah, that is a low blow, Fiddles, but you're right. Absolutely right.
I think the game would be more enjoyable if we knew like it was if it was Elder Scrolls Online beta.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's I'd love it. Obviously, I would love it because I can accept the fact that it's going to have glitches, but a lot of people won't, and that would impact their bottom line when the game went live. And I don't think you can do that. So,
yeah. I'm gonna skip the next one I put here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go to revisiting the idea of proximity voice chat.
Oh boy. I love proximity voice chat. So
yes. So this is a post. Let me make sure I'm not on the 3rd page or something like I was before. I think I'm on page 1. It's posted by Sathrago.
Yes.
Okay. So here's a post from Sathrago. He says, in the latest live stream, we saw a video displaying the nodes, and guess what they did in the first few minutes? They pretended to walk around and introduce each member of the discussion as their characters appeared, which is basically proximity voice chat. Their conversations are similar from then on to it as well. It was a fun experience and really adds to the video/immersion of the game. Now, what do we need to have this sort of thing to be realistic to be put in the game? We all know the downsides of proximity chat, so let's think of some solutions to stop or otherwise reduce the negatives associated with it, because I really think the positives are worth working towards. My suggestions: an easily accessible mute option on targeted players, as well as an icon for when someone is speaking so that it's easier to identify the annoyance inside of a crowd. Harsh punishments up to and including permanent muting or account suspension for verbal harassment that breaks to a TOS. I'd also apply this to the blasting of high volume noise of any kind in an effort to annoy others. Well, that's all I could think of at the moment. Let me know if you have any other ideas. I'd appreciate it if we could keep the thread to how it can be done and not a ew, I don't like it kind of thread. We already had one of those. So we've talked about it. Like I remember watching Salman and Eddie's Mortal Online 2 streams. Proximity chat is really big in that game.
Yes.
And it just looks fun. Like we've talked about this before. Like it really adds to that RP factor or just like the whole social aspect of MMOs. I'm not a fan of the whole breaking terms of service and you get muted kind of thing. I think that's a little harsh. Doesn't Xbox have something like that? Like they won't ban your account, but they'll like ban you from like communicating for like a month or something, like a weekend or something.
Yeah, if you say some unruly things on Xbox, like in messages, they can ban you from speaking or messaging people.
Nice. See, I think I guess that could be a thing if someone like goes too hard with it, or they've got multiple reports saying, "Hey, this person's saying some unruly things." New World has proximity chat, though it's seldom used.
Yeah,
I personally hate when I'm like trying to be immersed in an MMO and I go to a town hub, and it's happened on New World so many times where you just walk in town and then someone's just blasting some hardcore Jay-Z, and it's
yeah,
just like, oh, all right. How do I? That is really annoying. And yeah, and on New World, it's really hard to, from what I remember, I couldn't figure it out that day how to mute somebody, so I just sat there and kind of dealt with it.
sure.
Um, so there is that annoyance, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives. I'm not sure if I ever told this story on stream. I might have. I think one of our first one or two episodes, but I remember playing New World and I was attempting a quest that was, I want to say like 7 levels outside of where 7 levels higher than what I was, and so it was not recommended that I take on the task. But I was a little tanky guy, so I was like, that's easily accounted for 3 levels right there. I got a lot of defense, whatever. I
Sure.
should be able to do it. I ran up and I got destroyed by this huge bear. And it was one of the main storyline quests. Like, I had to do it. I got wrecked by this bear twice. And I respawned at the camp that I placed nearby. And I was on my way to it. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to do this. And do you know how rare it is to see someone on New World in the middle of nowhere, like not near a fort, not near anything,
Yeah,
not near a quest hub? Like I saw this random level, maxed out level 60 guy. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Like he was just randomly running through the wilderness. And in that moment, I felt like what those guys say when they talk about an old school MMO. In that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, I need that guy's help. How do I communicate with that? Do I type in area chat? Do I type in zone chat? I just happened upon this guy he should not have been there. I don't know what he was on the way to do. But anyways, um, I press V. That's what I had my voice chat tag to. So when I hold down V, obviously I speak into my mic, he can hear me. And I said, hey you, hey you, hey you. And then you see the guy actually stop and turn around. I was like, hey dude, I keep getting wrecked. Can you help me with this quest right here? I just really need some help with this bear. He doesn't talk back to me. He just jumps up and down, obviously confirming that he hears me. And then we go over there, and dude, we wreck this bear, and I complete that quest. And in that moment, that was literally first time in my life. Don't get me wrong, I've used voice comms before, or like maybe you do a random pug and you got to get on voice comms like, hey, do you guys not
yeah,
understand the mechanics? I need you to stand over here. I've had moments like that where, we're in a group already, but never in my MMO, I'll use the term career, has voice chat felt that satisfying or felt that good to me. Like it felt really cool, really social. I didn't even add the guy. There was no friend request. There was no nothing afterwards. He just heard me and then went and did this thing, and that was it. And I don't know. I will always remember that moment. That's my happiest New World memory, or happiest. I wouldn't say happiest MMO memory, I guess, but pretty close to it, if not as far as social aspects. I think that was one of my happiest MMO moments. And it was something simple, but it meant a lot to me. So I love the idea of proximity chat.
yeah. So I got stories for you about proximity chat. Um, I agree with you. I think proximity chat should exist. Let's get that out of the way right away. I think there's a good way to go about doing it. You can, as long as you have a UI system where you can mute annoying people and you can ban people for saying unwanted hate speech, angry language, stuff like that. There's no reason it shouldn't exist. Like if you want an immersive experience in an MMO, why wouldn't you have proximity voice chat? What we were talking about before, one of our friends, Sawman, he has done like he's playing Mortal Online 2, which is a full loot PvP game, and he played an entire playthrough as a pacifist, and he's just walking around talking to people, literally people trying to attack him, and he's talking them out of attacking him, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, and it's definitely worth going to watch. And those types of things, that type of content, is something that Ashes could potentially have, and I think that's great. We we used to have proximity chat in the Elder Scrolls Online, and there was a glitch that existed when they incorporated a new DLC to where it worked in PvP with your opponents.
Oh, I remember that. That was amazing.
Yes. And so there was times like I'm a solo small scale player. You're just getting run down by 20 people just yelling at you like, "Get back here, bitch. Get back here." And it was so freaking funny, man. Like it was so funny. But yeah, I'm like you. Like I don't like the loud music and stuff, so I normally stay out of it. But one time one of my friends, like we were playing in Imperial City, and if you go through the door on Xbox, you would get out of your Xbox chat. It would kick you out. And it would kick you to voice chat, and you wouldn't know. And so we'd go through a door, and sometimes she wouldn't check to see if she was still in chat with me. And so she'd go through a door, and we'd see people. And then she'd be like, "Get over here, stupid. Come here, stupid." And I don't know why. Like, she wasn't swearing or cussing or anything, but like, she thought she was talking to me. And she was like, she's yelling at these other people to like, "Hey, get over here, stupid." And it was so freaking funny. And yeah, like, stuff like that in the game would be great.
Yes. From what I recall, it's been a while since I read up on this on a wiki, but last we were told there will only be proximity. Well, for the most part, there will be proximity chat in taverns. Is I think what we were last told. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I know taverns will have voice chat. I don't know if there will be group voice chat as well. But I think right now, as far as open world voice chat, that's not a thing. Like you're not gonna just be able to go through a town hub and, walk through a node and just a bunch of people in voice chat. I think right now it has to be either you're in a group or in a tavern. The tavern one I for sure remember.
Sure.
But that's I just love the idea. I think the cool moments outweigh the toxic moments with proximity chat.
Yeah.
Well, except for like voice chat in like a Call of Duty free for all or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Modern Warfare is a bit different. I remember I used to load into lobbies and I just mute the entire lobby before it started because I was like, this is what's gonna happen. Sakar here says, "Bro, that glitch was a gold mine for content." Absolutely, and that's my biggest point. I completely agree. Proximity chat for content and like storytelling and those sorts of things would go a lot further in the game, in my opinion. And so, yeah, having more of it, I don't think is a bad thing, but it's also telling the moderators to moderate harder. So,
true. Let's move on to our next post here. Okay. And then we're getting chat. If you're here, make sure you stick around because I got a post that I'm gonna. I mean, Els hasn't seen any of these posts to be fair, but there's one that I can't wait for him to hear. So you guys make sure you stick around. I think that'll be the last. I think that's the last one on our list. I think it's like 2 from here. But let's dive into this one. It's titled "Freeholds and being able to sell them is a bad idea." And let's see. Yeah, this is from poster Aces Are Wild. Here, let me get that pulled up on my end. There we go. All right. So he says, wait, I can't. It is his post, right? Aces?
Yeah, that's what I see.
Huh, I remember having read some more, so I think it was one of those situations where maybe I read someone else's comment. But Aces says, I believe it will create a lot of problems where people will jack up the prices and people will sell them for real money. Oh, I remember now. I went to look at pretty much this whole thread. That's what it was. So he's saying that he doesn't like that freeholds, you can acquire them and then be able to flip them for he basically thinks it's going to lean to the RMT. Yeah. Someone responds saying they'll have systems in place to counter RL money issues. And then someone says something saying, this is from Neror. He says, I mean, they can't control the RMT aspect of direct selling freeholds at all, ever. The freehold will be sold for endgame sum of gold to avoid suspicion, on top of $1,000 with PayPal or whatever in order to even be considered as a buyer. Something like that will 100% happen, and they obviously can't monitor that. I'd prefer if they dropped all resales of freeholds, other than perhaps selling it back to the node for a sum of gold. but at the very least, they have to drop the idea of direct sales to other players. Selling a freehold through a bidding system open to all is better. If Intrepid absolutely have to have player-to-player freehold sales in game, let's see how long this thread can keep going for. So I thought this was this is one of those takes, like, you have to respect it even if you disagree with it. I think he makes some good points here. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it. There's one part of me is I love the realistic real estate aspect of Ashes of Creation, buying land, getting in early on that investment. As soon as that node is able to own, or as soon as you're available to get freeholds, you get one. And now that's looked at as it's pretty cool to have one, but what if you don't care for one? What if you want to make a big gold profit, or maybe you're an RMTer and you want to sell it for $1,000? I don't know, but I like that. I don't like the RMT aspect, obviously. I don't want that to happen, but I think it's really cool that you have realistic real estate. I just think that's something that's very cool, and I'd like to see how that affects the economy. I would like to see the value that players put on that. How much in-game gold is a freehold, which are pretty exclusive, especially once all of them are bought up. That's a pretty exclusive commodity. How much gold is that really going to be worth? If you put an RMT price on it, is this guy right in that it's going to be worth $1,000 to sell an account or with a freehold, or to sell that to a player in game? So you're going to get some in-game gold and you're going to get $1,000 for an in-game trade? Like, that sounds insane. It's crazy to see the amount the amount of value that players can put on that. Now, aside from the real estate thing, another part of me is saying, like, okay, that's actually a really good idea to avoid RMT and unfair advantages, is to kill the player-to-player trading, because if you're able to just sell it back to the node, that cuts that whole potential out, and you just put the freehold back on the market. The node can then make even more gold, even make more of a profit, and it just cuts that whole aspect out, and then whoever has the most gold wins that freehold. If I had to be completely honest with you, I didn't have this belief when I first started reading this just now, but I'm kind of, if I'm 60-40, I'm kind of 60 on the having to sell it back to the node, or having to, else. Okay, never mind. I got it. If you want to sell a freehold, you have to put it up for auction. Okay. And the node that your freehold is in, like the parent node in that jurisdiction, then gets 40% of whatever it's bidded for. How about that? I think that's the way to go. I mean, I'm obviously all for testing as is, but honestly, I'm kind of leaning towards that now. And then maybe you keep the real estate thing to in apartment housing, because remember, that's still a thing. You got freeholds and then you got in apartment housing that can eventually become mansions. Maybe you leave that to that, and then freeholds become something you sell back to the node for bidding. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So, without knowing too much about the systems and everything they're trying to do here, like what they have for backstops, because they haven't shared all that, I could see this being a situation. I think the only thing Nair is not taking into account is people potentially buying one of these and then it getting taken over and destroyed. And so then you spend $1,000 and now you don't have anything, because nodes can be attacked and sieged and taken over. So that is a risk. So do you want to throw $1,000 away potentially? Yeah, there'll be some people out there that will probably do that. And so I do like the idea, in theory, that if that is potentially a thing where you're not gonna be able to stop all RMT, people will be able to use back channel ways in order to get this stuff to happen. So donating, like you said, if you the node already has a tax system in place, and so if you donate the freehold back to the node and auction out to the highest bidder, like you want to go about doing that, then the node gets whatever percentage, that tax percentage that they have applied to it. So everybody kind of wins and everybody gets a fair bid. And so it's not just real money going to somebody, it's actually people bidding currency in the game. So I can get behind that. I think that makes sense.
And I'm also all for you can't prevent RMT in the game. I think there's just truth to that.
Yeah.
I think this, however, I don't see a downside. I think this literally eliminates RMT from this specific scenario when it comes to freehold.
Yes.
RMT, obviously, you can't do nothing about player trading. If you have player trading, then I mean, come on. But I think you can eliminate it from a real estate means or freehold real estate means rather. So I just thought this was a interesting topic. And yeah, I didn't even think about that solution until like until I was reading this post. But I really think that would be good, especially if it has a high tax rate, so the node makes a profit off it.
Yeah.
I think this is the one situation where you can combat RMT. So that's interesting.
I thought it was good. I think that's a good way to go about doing it. So.
All right. So now we're going to go to our safe place, chat. We're going to go to our safe place. We are going to go to Reddit.
I swear,
Only good
Nice
things
tortures
happen.
me with Reddit. I swear.
I took the sacrifice and went there for us. So the first one is actually a great. Oh, it actually has a lot of upvotes. 56 upvotes. I think. So I didn't want to just bash. So I figured I'd warm you up with a good Reddit post, like a positive one.
Okay.
So here, let me get that pulled up on my end. It's titled "Ashes is my final hope for MMO gaming." All
right, I got it.
All right, so this is a post from Reddit user IYIED. Ashes is my final hope for MMO gaming. Disclaimer, bit ranty / poor grammar at times. That's fine. So he says, as I'm sure many, if not all PC gamers are concerned, most larger gaming companies are quite disappointing with their continued re-upload of the typical copy-pasted content year after year. And if you're actively playing games right now, I'm sure you find yourself either wasting money on a new game every few months, hoping that the game you just bought will give you more than a couple of hours of gameplay at best. Personally, I've been more drawn back to older games that I used to play and have an hour count in the thousands while I wait for that one game that'll keep me hooked on it like it's a second job. Love what he said there, because that's literally what I'm doing with ESO. Moving forward, he says, but here I am even getting bored of those old gems, which don't quite hit that sweet spot of dungeon crawling, competitive PvP, or jaw-dropping story-driven gameplay anymore. My final hope while I suffer in this gaming drought will be Ashes. Holy crap. I love that sentence. My final hope while I suffer in this gaming drought will be Ashes. Here's hoping I get to enjoy many more years of gaming to come when this game is fully playable. I hope to see my friends logging in and wanting to party up and take on crazy exciting content, craft new gear for one another, forge a guild, alliance, get into intense PvP and desk slamming excitement and everything else that comes with the ever expanding community that is MMOs. Thank you, Ashes, for rekindling the ember on our bonfire and setting the sails on our galleon. For galleon, for you guys are truly the final hope we as MMO fans truly have for Verra. My goodness, that is just the best Reddit post I think I've read. And you usually don't get much positivity from that. I kind of gave my thoughts as I read it, but I'll just read it. Ah, is that why they call it that? Anyways, oh, that was just, I can't even move forward after that epiphany.
Nice knows what Reddit means. We got there.
I get it now.
That's so good.
So personally, I love this post. I was so happy as I read it because it's literally my state of mind. It's literally my thoughts on the current gaming industry and Ashes of Creation, like word for word. Like, you know, usually you read a good post and like, well, I agree with this, but I didn't. No, I think word for word, it's like I wrote this. It is to the T, everything that I feel. Where he says, games just have not been good. You eventually just go back to your old game. For me, that's ESO. and you get, it's great, but you don't get that same feeling that you used to get, and you're wanting something that's like a really good sweet spot of dungeon crawling, competitive PvP,
Yeah.
something your friends have fun when they log on, and all this other stuff, and that excitement. And I personally am a believer that Ashes will be the savior of the genre. Like, from the way it sounds like literally what I've been waiting for. And not even just for MMOs, like just for gaming. Like, it seems like it's gonna be one of those rare gems that I think Baldur's Gate 3 was for some people, how Elden Ring was for some people. It's gonna be one of those gems that really spark that flame, if you will. And so I'm really excited. I love this post. I gotta remember to comment on it here. How do you feel about it?
Well, my opinion is that we are covering Ashes of Creation before Alpha 2 has come out, and Alpha 2 is a ways away. And so, yeah, our excitement, despite me talking in this tone right now, is very similar. Like, I don't want to make grandiose gestures about like where Ashes is going to land, like when it goes live, like how it's going to rank against other MMOs. But I will say that when you do get a good MMO, the fact is that you have fun doing almost anything that you want to do, right?
Mm.
Was this you? I see one new comment. Is that you that just made a comment?
Yes, that was me.
So my point of view is like in ESO, like when I was having the most fun playing ESO, I had trials. I had to farm VMA occasionally because I had to get the best in slot daggers. I had dueling where I'd just go duel people in the city. And then I had open world PvP. And then I had my favorite, Imperial City. And so those things were all very populated, a lot of fun to do, and I could just pick and choose what I wanted to do. So if I wanted to go and grind Undaunted on a new character, like I didn't want a PvP that day, I could go do it. If I wanted to do this, I could go do it. If I wanted to just go goof around in like a city and talk with a bunch of people and duel and whatever, like I could go do that too. And so yeah, like a really well done MMO just has that type of staying power where like it doesn't matter what you want to do, like it's available in the game. It's almost, I've used this analogy, it's kind of like going to Las Vegas, because like Vegas literally has something for everybody. That's why it's designed. Like it has shows, it has food, it has gambling, it has like you can go shoot guns there, you can ride helicopters over the Grand Canyon. Like they have something for everybody. Like you'll find something that you want to do if you've never been. And so I feel like a good MMO has the exact same thing where it's like, yeah, you may not be interested in PvP, but we have this, and I can see Ashes being that exact same thing, because like we see the mayoral system, we see the freehold system, we see that they'll have dueling, they have open world PvP, they have sea PvP, caravans, like all these different systems,
gathering, all this
exactly. And so I get just as excited about it because it's it's one of those things where it's like we're a ways away. I try not to get too excited about it because I know we're a ways away from getting to test this stuff. But yeah, I believe that this game and a few others are possibly the ones that we could latch on to. And Ashes has shown the most promise out of all of the ones that I'm excited about, in my opinion. So,
yes. Maybe I should have saved this post to end on so we can end on a positive note, but I think I'm gonna save the I'm gonna save it looks like we're gonna end on the this next one, which isn't as happy toned. So here, I got our next article here if you want to pull that up.
why people excited? This one?
Why people excited?
Oh boy. Okay.
So, should I actually, Else, you read it. You read it.
I read the first
it's
three
short
words.
and simple.
Why people excited? Game looks poor for today's standards. I mean, people still play WoW. Is a realistic MMO anticipated at this point? All realistic MMOs have failed, though I do not believe it will come out. The other question is why this game had hype from before any gameplay was released, and even now that we have seen some, it seems really miserable. Might be unpopular opinion, but why, if you can enlighten me, feel free to. I mean, why do you got to do this to me, man? So do you want me to comment first, or do you have an opinion, or what?
Um, no, I guess give your initial, just give your feedback first.
Okay, so something that's been grinding my gears, I guess, for like the last year of covering different MMOs and like talking about on my channel, talking about ESO or New World or whatever, is people that just lump generic sum every sort of game into a bucket and say, oh, because this game failed, this game's going to fail because it has PvP. And this guy's saying, because this is a realistic MMO and every other realistic MMO has failed, it's going to fail. That doesn't make any sense. Like the art design has no bearing on what the game, if the game's going to be good or not. We could go, I could probably talk for 10 minutes about games that have shitty realism or have good realism, and it just depends on what the actual substance of the freaking game is. And so lumping them all in together and be like, oh, realistic trees, this game sucks. What are you talking about? Like really, like that's your baseline. This is all you know is just whether or not it's realistic. That's one sentence. Though I do not believe it will come out. Why? What, like, so there are lots and lots of development companies out there that literally just post hype trailers. They post hype trailers and they say, sign on to our beta, sign on to our early access. They do these sorts of things. They do the gotcha tactics where they show, you know, this really cool fight scene that's all cinematic, but there's no substance to it at all. And people get excited about it and they call Throne and Liberty the game of the year before the Throne and Liberty is even going to come out. Like, you get those types of things happening. Ashes is literally doing the opposite of that, where they're like, hey, we're going to talk about freeholds for an hour. And I'm sorry, but like, if you're a PvPer and you're not paying attention to Ashes of Creation, you're going to be like, you're going to do what for an hour? Like who cares, you know? Yeah. But the perspective is they're going into each of these systems individually to discuss it, because people excited about the game are going to want to discuss these things. So why would they do all of that? Why would they not just develop hype trailers if the game was never coming out? Like the thought process here is just really lacking. Like, if the point was to generate enough hype to get people to buy a game in order to not have it come out and make millions of dollars the easiest way possible, they would not be deploying things month to month the way that they're doing now, and they wouldn't provide a monthly subscription that is $15 freaking dollars. They would say, hey, you're going to pay $70 up front and this, and yeah, we know you're going to play for a month. Thank you for the millions. And then they're going to walk away. So yeah, that's 3 sentences in. The other question is why this game had hype from before any gameplay was released.
Ugh.
I mean, the reason it is because there is a specific genre that MMOs have been avoiding for years now that scratches an itch for a lot of people, and it's not being shy about PvP. It's not being shy or ignoring PvP entirely. There are lots and lots of players that are looking for a PvP based MMO. You saw it with the New World release. Whether or not whatever the game's doing now, obviously it was realistic. New World was realistic. That's why it's failed. It had nothing to do with, you know, the infinity glitch, like the infinite survivability glitch. It had nothing to do with laggy servers. It had nothing to do with poor overland content. It had nothing to do with replayable game systems that were very boring. It had nothing to do with a very long, laggy or very long-winded grinding session that took forever to get you to endgame, and then expertise on top of that within your gear system, and then grinding the specific gear traits. It had nothing to do with any of that. New World was way too freaking realistic. That's the problem, and so that's why it failed. But they initially were hyped as a PvP MMO, and we saw 900,000 people tune in concurrently to play and watch New World. The hype was there. The execution was really bad. It was like a belly flop on, you know, like a 25-foot high dive. Like, it didn't go very well. And so yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Was that good?
Yes. Yes, that was worth it. Yeah, I saw this and like, you gotta be kidding me. I don't understand why people are Why? You know what? Everything I'm about to say is summed up with the first 3 comments that you see. So this poster, ILY112, he says, "Enlighten you," because this guy ends his statement with he says, "And even now that we have seen some of it, even though we have seen some of it, basically it's miserable. Might be unpopular opinion, but why? If you can enlighten me, feel free to." So I'm gonna address most of the posts, kind of like Els did here shortly. But
Sure.
why do you need people to justify this game? Why are you in this subreddit? Why are you even caring to type this negative thing? I'm not super hyped for Throne and Liberty anymore. I probably will give it a chance. I'm interested to see if they correct things, but I'm not gonna go join Throne and Liberty's Discord or go to Throne and Liberty Reddit and post like, "Why the hell y'all playing?" It's like, what? What does that accomplish? What does me raining on someone else's parade do? Why would I be following it? Why is he in this subreddit posting this? So he says, "Enlighten me on why." And this poster says, he responds to him by saying, "Enlighten you, bro? If you don't like the game, just don't think about it." Laugh my ass off. Why do you want people to convince you? Just do literally anything else with your life. I just thought that was, you know what? Thumbs up. Um, he said, and this other person says, "People won't talk to him at all if he doesn't find anyone he can stir up with some cheap, sloppy post." And then this next person says, "I have 2 questions. What do you want to achieve with this post? And then 2, will this post help you with that?" And that's the whole reason I posted this. This was the most Chad response because it's literally what came to my mind when I was
Yeah,
reading this. I was like, what is the goal of posting this negative thing and
that's
like
good.
crapping on Ashes of Creation? I mean, I haven't gotten to his take being horrible or anything like that. No offense, original poster, spaced out 1997.
No, you should take offense to
I
what I said.
okay, okay, some
Lot
offense intended.
offense from
Some
one of
offense.
us.
Like, what did you, if you're not interested in this game, if it's not visually attractive to you, if you have all these pre-established notions, these like you pre-hate it already, like you ever you know those people that go into something not wanting to like it? That's
Yeah.
what this guy reminds me of.
Yep.
Like, what could someone possibly, Steven himself can comment on this. Someone can comment on this literally with answering all your questions and then telling you all the most beautiful things about Ashes of Creation or the idea of it. What can someone possibly say to change your mind considering what you just typed? Like, what is
Yeah.
the end game? What's the goal here? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish? I've said that probably 5 times, but it really baffles my mind because what is the point of this? But anyways, let me start getting into the nitty gritty of what he said. I think Els hit it on the head. I can't say it better than that. I think I was gonna say it similar things like, what does the realistic look of the MMO have to do with how successful it'll be? Uh, and then once again, we got another one of these guys talk about how the game doesn't look great visually. All realistic MMOs have failed. Like I hate that. Like El said, just lumping it all into just one thing. Like people name how many action combat MMOs are successful. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Why is that got to be the reason it failed? Like, oh, you mean like New World? You want this to be like New World? Huh? How's that looking? Yes, New World had a horrible launch. It's probably in a bad state by so many people. What does that have to do with the action combat?
Do you know what
That's
these
not what people are complaining about with New World.
Do you know what these people remind me of? Nice. I just wanted to do a quick analogy off of what you just said. It's like, hey, how many different designs of the wheel failed before? How many different designs of an airplane failed? Why do we have to keep going through this? Like, yeah, eventually, like, somebody's going to hit something here. That's the point. Like, do you want the same old shit? Go play the same old shit. You get new and exciting things off of innovation. It makes no sense. And then, yeah, I'm going to say it again, but just what you said. Literally lumping everything in based off of one specific aspect, like, and that's the reason it failed. There are multiple different reasons why New World has not kept the population it had since launch. There are multiple different reasons, and to say it's because of realism or because of action combat is lazy.
Action combat.
It's lazy.
It's the action combat.
Yeah.
The most like WoW is arguably, I don't even think it's arguably the most successful MMO.
Yeah.
It's tab target. Thus, Ashes of Creation should be purely tab target. What is these mindsets like? And New World was a failure. It was action combat. Thus, action combat bad. What?
Yeah.
Like I hate this. New World was realism, or X game had realistic looking graphics. And people didn't like that game, so you should do cartoony graphics like World of Warcraft. I don't understand these ideologies. I don't understand these mindsets. I mean, why it's a fair or it's an opinion, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I just don't think that's how you win a debate. I don't think that makes sense. I don't know one person. Well, there's some people out there that didn't like New World's combat, obviously, right? A lot of
Yeah,
people didn't
of
like it.
course.
But I don't think not one person logically said when they said, "Hey, why'd you stop playing New World? Why? What did you dislike the most? Why do you not think New World was successful?" I don't think one person's response is going to be, "Well, it was the combat."
It was
I
the realism. The trees were
It was
too
the
real.
realism.
That's why
I
I
don't think that would
quit.
be the answer either. Like, I mean, I'm not saying there's not going to be one guy out there, but come on. I think if we did a poll, I think most people are not going to vote that it was the combat. I don't think most people are going to vote, "Oh, it was the graphics, bro." It's not a thing. That's not logical. And then he asked, the other question is why this game had hype from before any gameplay was released. Like I said, that's literally every MMO trailer. How many MMOs are on our radar right now? How many MMOs are set to release in Unreal Engine 5? Crazy graphics. And we got nothing but a trailer, no gameplay. And then you got a developer in Intrepid that's literally, literally showing you behind the scenes, literally showing you their progress. But you want to complain, but you want to hype up the games that just show trailers.
Yeah.
Like, you want to hype up the game that you have no concrete evidence. Like, I don't understand these negative posters. And I'm not saying don't be critical. I'm not saying everyone has to be a fan of Ashes of Creation, but I think and I seen it a lot on I see it a lot on Ashes of Creation's YouTube. If you look at the community posts or if you look in the comment section, not saying it's a majority because it's not. I would say a majority is overwhelmingly positive, but you see these people that comment, and I'm like, why'd you watch this video? Why'd you comment on this video?
Yeah.
What is your goal from this? Why are you just crapping on this? I think someone responded to my comment on the recent Ashes of Creation video with just like pure negativity. I'm just like, why did you respond to my comment on this game that you're obviously not interested in? What's the goal?
Yeah.
Just go play what you have. You can still play whatever the game apparently is so perfect to you. I don't know. You got me mad with you, Elsa, and I read this already.
Yeah. There's a few things I want to say here now because you brought up a lot of good points, and now I'm going to have to try and tie them all back together. I want to be clear here that there is a good chance Ashes of Creation will fail, just like any other game, due to design failures, due to differences of opinion, due to it just like the combat feeling clunky or whatever, or there's a lot of different ways an MMO can fail. And so I'm not going to sit here and say this is going to be game of the year. I'm not going to sit here and say this is going to be the greatest game of all time or anything like that. It can fail. However, we have more information given to us in monthly live streams for Ashes of Creation than we do any other MMO that is out there right now. And so we have the ability to see in-game development. We get to see these live streams. We get to see what's going on without having to invest $1. And that's fantastic. And some people are so passionate about it that are going to invest money in Alpha 2 and the beta, and there is no NDA for these things for a lot of the content. And so that content will be posted on YouTube for people to see for free. And so you can watch all this stuff and you can decide if it's something that you think might be worth playing. And then on top of all of this, the investment cost is $15 to try it one time. And so my perspective is even if you have questions about Ashes of Creation, and that's fine, I have questions too, just like everybody else. What other game has that type of roadmap with that low upfront cost to where you'd be like, okay, I get to see all the development, I get to see how it's going to play, I get to see these sorts of things. I'm interested. If I don't like it, I'm only out $15. What other MMO is currently doing that? And none of you are responding because no other game is doing that right now. Not because you're in chat and you can't talk back to me.
Yeah, you stunned them there. They had nothing to say.
I stunned them. You guys had nothing to say. But that's my perspective on Ashes. Is yeah, it could fail, but we have all these other things that they're like not stopgaps, but it's literally like guardrails to where the more we see, the more we're prepared for what's going to happen. The less we see, the less we're prepared for what could happen and what could fail. If they did live reveals for Throne and Liberty and they showed the combat, people would have been able to point out right away how unfun it was going to be with everybody stuck in place. Right? Right? Like, as an example. That isn't going to happen with this game. They're already like moving past those things with every live stream reveal. And so that's my perspective on the difference between these things. The second thing is, if I'm not interested in a game, I'm just not interested. Like, we have a friend that's been playing Palia, and he really enjoys it. I saw what Palia was about. It's not my type of game. I'm not interested. I'm not saying it's a bad game, because if people are enjoying it, great, move on. Like, I'm not informed enough to know how good Palia is, but I'm not going to go on the Palia forums and go, hey, why does this game exist? Why is it so exciting? Looks like shit. Why doesn't it have PvP? Why doesn't it have dueling? Why doesn't it have this? Why can't you kill people? Like, why can't you do this stuff in this game? Like, I thought you guys wanted to be an MMO. You're supposed to be able to kill people in an MMO. Why would I do that? Like, that's a different game. It just, in the nicest way possible, if you're doing that about a game you don't like, touch grass. Just touch grass. Like, you don't have to do that. So that's my perspective.
Yeah. What would be accomplished by going into a Palia Discord, a Palia Reddit? Like, well said. Well said. That's probably the best comparison we can make. Like, me and you, like, Palia, whatever it is not for us. It's not going to strike. It's not going to strike that itch. It's just not going to fulfill our needs. Why comment on it? Like, why criticize it? I should say. It's just not for you. But I'm not going to go into that community and insult it. Like, I would gain nothing. What response is going to justify it? Yeah, like what answer will I get? What response could someone respond? Like, well, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna buy that now. No, there's nothing no one can say, and I know that while I'm typing the damn post. Like, this guy knew when he was typing the post that nothing no one can say will ever convince him.
Fiddles here says, I'm still upset you said it could fail. It can. I don't think it will. I really don't think it will, but we have to acknowledge that it can. Like, it can. Wizzy McNasty, welcome in. He said the main reason Ashes could fail is because the time to reach max level might be too steep for the instant gratification generation. Possibly, yeah. Absolutely.
And we talked about that. We had a whole discussion about the instant gratification earlier with that guy that wanted the leveling extended even further. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then we got Joe Inro says it's different for a pre-existing game with a pre-existing player base, but 100% with you. Yeah, it's just
we're not going to see any surprises with Ashes of Creation. Like, we're seeing it month to month. We're not going to pick it up. I mean, obviously combat is something most of the times you can see it, but most of the time it's when you get your hand on it, you play it yourself, how it feels. But everything else about the game, you really can't be surprised with the monthly showcases.
Exactly.
I think that was a good point.
Yeah, and upfront cost does matter also. And so you get to see, you're not going to be surprised. Like, if it's something that catches your eye, like, okay, this is something I could spend $15 for to see if I enjoy. That's way better than like, oh, wow, I got 5 hype trailers and I got to spend $60. I hope this game's good. Like there's just different levels of investment in this. I would rather go with the former. I'd rather have the upfront and out in the open showcase of what the game is, and literally have a development team say, hey guys, we think our game's good. We're not going to charge you $60 for a game. We're going to charge you $15 for a monthly subscription because we think we can keep you. I'd rather have that. That's just my opinion. So
yes. I guess if you guys got any last minute questions, I guess we could use that as our last talking point. Kind of go to bed angry.
I'm not angry, but yeah, like you said, I don't understand these types of people. They're on the forums too, like these types of people that haven't Yeah, like they haven't liked where the game has been going for quote years now, and they're still on the forums writing hundreds of thousands of posts just negative the whole time. Like it makes no sense to me, man. Like go find a game you are excited about. Like do that, you know?
That takes a lot of. It's different when I don't know your friends bring it up in Discord, and you give your opinion on it. That's different, right? It,
Yeah.
but to sign up and make I don't know if you ever made a forum account. I know it's not the most complicated thing, but if y'all ever made a forum account, that takes dedication. You gotta at least be interested in a product. Why would you make a forum account for something just to bash it and criticize it the whole time? Like what?
Yeah.
Like what? Where's the logic? What? A forum account? You're gonna be on the forums to be negative. I'm not talking about being I'm not talking about criticizing or hey, I don't think this system's gonna work. I think this is gonna fail. I wish they would do this or why haven't we? I'm not talking about those guys.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the negative Nancy's. Why do y'all exist on the forums? Like the super negative ones.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me. I can be constructive. I can acknowledge that a game can fail. Like I'm not gonna sit here and yeah, it's just I don't know. Like I sit here and I see stuff and it's like, man, well, why are you still here? Like if you don't want to be here, like you could just log out. Like you don't have to be here. You can there's other MMOs coming out. Like, there's a lot of MMOs coming out. Maybe something else will catch your attention that you'd be excited about, you know? Why not go try and be happy about a game like we are with another game? Why do you got to be angry? It doesn't make any sense. So go comment on a game you're going to play. Too logical for the internet. Got to slow down. Fair. Go ahead, Nice.
Oh, I was saying I'm watching the stream playback and I'm at this part where he's at some hut, like some building, and now the shadow issue is so obvious to me now. It's so obvious to me now. Like I actually get it now. Cuz it's bright outside and inside that room there's a lamp and like when Steven steps closer to it, you guys that's watching this back will be able to see what I'm saying at the moment, but like it's just pure darkness
pulled it
there.
up
I
now.
think that's actually it's actually pretty bad now that I'm looking at it. Like it's not bad like when he's on the main street, like those light shadows, like okay now on my screen, but when he goes into this hut, it's I wish I can give you a timestamp. I can't tell what timestamp this is in the stream, but it's so obvious. Like it's like okay, I get it now. Now I finally see what people were talking about. So I'm kind of with the shadow people now. I think it might be. It's not a horrible thing because it's. I mean, everything else looks so beautiful, but I could see how just a tiny touch up wouldn't hurt. But it still looks good. It still looks good. But yeah, that was just unnecessarily pitch black just now. Like it didn't even make sense because of where he was.
Yeah, I like the vast majority of the shadows. I thought, yeah, we don't have to rehash it, I suppose, but I thought most of them were good. I thought the example shown was a good point. But yeah, I don't know. I can go back and forth either way. But it is funny that that's like the biggest complaint. So
Yeah. Ignore all the other beauty. It's just like, hey, yeah, I mean, all that's fine and dandy, but the shadows. But yeah, I guess that's the kind of feedback they want. But
yeah,
it just feels almost guilty to discuss because of how beautiful everything else is, you know?
sure.
Um, okay. I guess did Arctic get my sub gift?
He did. He hasn't responded yet. So
I think we could probably, I guess, end it there.
you guys want to do a couple minutes to see? You guys have any questions or comments that we haven't covered? We're just real quick.
Yeah,
If
any
not,
topics, discussion?
yeah. Did we miss anything? Was an opinion missed? Yeah, and that last comment, it wasn't directed at just that one guy. There's a lot of people that do that. Like I just had a guy.
Yeah.
Like I posted a video yesterday, and a guy commented. He's like, "This game sucks, but this game isn't going to beat out BDO." And he goes, "I don't know why anybody's following this." And I go and look at his channel, and he's just a small pro BDO channel. It's like, bro, it's okay. Like you like BDO, it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
what are we talking about? Dev discussion concept art. I have not seen that.
Let me look that one up. I wonder if that's what the background image is. Is that a new background image for the forums? Here, let me double check. Dev discussion Oh, I know which one he's talking about. So if you go to, I think it's under the Dream nodes. Is that the one it's under? I think I looked at it yesterday. Let's see. No. Yes, there it is. It is. It's the dev discussion, number 55, Dream nodes.
Number 55, Dream Nodes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it has an Underralm node, which I forget that that's even a thing.
It confirms Underralm nodes, which hasn't been confirmed in years, came out today.
It'll be time for bed in 30 minutes.
It looks. Have you found it yet?
Yeah, I found the dev discussion for Dream Nodes. Is there a link that I have to go to, or do I
No, just scroll to the very top, like where he originally posted the dev discussion question.
Okay. Type of environment would you like to spend most of your time in, whether it's a biome or keep an eye out for our next dev discussion? Okay.
Scroll up, like to the top of the, like the very top. The image comes before the words. It's the image that has
page 2.
It should be page 1, posted by Vacnar. You kind of just read it. It's the image that's I can't see it on your stream. It's
Okay,
the image that is the background. It says Ashes of Creation Dev Discussion Dream Notes. Like it says that in the image before the words of the post.
I'm pulling it up now. It's time for dev discussion. Dev discussion topics are kind of like reverse Q&A. Rather than you ask us questions about Ashes, we want you to ask you what your thoughts are. Our design team has completed a list of burning questions we'd love to get your feedback on regarding gameplay, your past MMO experiences, and more. Join in on the dev discussion and share what makes gaming special to you. Okay, so this is the Underrealm that we're talking about.
Yeah, and that image there. So I I forget. I literally always forget that exists.
Let's open the image in a new tab. We'll get it bigger.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I haven't watched the video. I think I read it on a wiki that they're possible, but it might. I think. Don't quote me on that. But the concept of Underrealm nodes is interesting. I wonder if it will actually be a thing. It seems kind of. I don't know. To me, it seems like a stretch, but I mean, it could happen.
Galwood says concept art almost always turns out very close to reality. So this is what it's going to look like potentially?
Wow. Yeah, like the Underrealm, they got a really good Alpha Zero showcase of the Underrealm, which the Underrealm, we could probably do that as a big part of a stream, like a big discussion on the Underrealm itself and uses and what's expected. But yeah, the thought of a node potentially being down there is interesting. Was it a Kickstarter goal, Wizzy? If so, then yeah, it's not even debatable. It's gonna be a thing.
Weren't under node realms a stretch goal? I don't know. We can go look. I could see if I can pull up the Kickstarter.
I've actually never looked at all the Kickstarter goals that were hit. I imagine all of them got hit if they existed the way the Kickstarter went.
Let me pull it up on the side here. See if I can find it.
I'll try to Google it too.
That's a very cool idea. Thank you for linking this. This is why we're having the chat, so that we all can be way more informed. Rewards, comments, community. What would it be under? Sorry, I'm pulling it up now. Community, comments, updates. Would it be under updates or rewards?
I'm gonna go to rewards.
Stretch goals. Stretch goals here. You just scroll down. Enhanced naval content, backer only armor skin, the Underrealm. There it is.
Wait, I can't see it.
So if you see stretch goal, so you scroll down below the video.
Here, let me go to the main page. Okay, so stretch goals. Okay.
Yep, it's like the 5th one down. 3, 4, 5, 6th one down. 7th. Sorry. 7th one down. The Underrealm. Expansive underground areas, underrealm node development, underrealm fauna and flora. Yeah. I didn't know about the underrealm. I am uninformed.
Oh, ooh, you know what? Don't even get informed. Maybe you should learn on stream.
That'd be fun.
I mean, I'm not an expert on it, honestly, but I watched one Alpha Zero stream where they actually took a walk through the Underrealm. It's crazy how long this game looked like it was already almost ready to be released, because that Alpha Zero video where they walked through the Underrealm, I want to say that was probably 5 years ago, chat. Someone let me know, but that was a while ago. Like, I wonder how much assets they still use, or if when they upgraded to Unreal Engine 5, they had to start the game over. There's so many questions I have in regards to that, but that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, it's I'm probably gonna be a crap job of summarizing it, but essentially the Underrealm is like you see how huge the map is, right? Think about there's a hole under the map.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna ask. Like, is this gonna encapsulate basically the underground of like both Earth like land areas?
And it's gonna be a cool way to avoid stuff above ground. And there's gonna be choke points, or it avoids choke points. Like there's a lot of cool benefits of the Underrealm. It's actually one of the most exciting parts of Ashes of Creation. But yeah, you know what? While we're here, so it looks like they did hit all their goals, right? What were some of these goals? Parlor games, cute small pets. Wait, if they didn't hit that goal, the game was gonna have cute pets.
Yep.
Group mounts. I've actually never knew that Ashes had confirmed group mounts. That's actually something I didn't know. Backer only weapon skins, that makes sense. Enhanced naval content, backer only armors, of course. Underrealm, backer exclusive aquatic mounts, social organizations, die sets, Underrealm race. Oh, that's the Tallnar. Yeah, so the Kickstarter goal was to literally add the Tallnar race, because the Tallnar, those are the well, that's where they're from. Like, I bet the Tallnar starting area is actually going to be the Underrealm. Is that confirmed? Do you guys think that's the case, chat? Or that might be confirmed. I don't know, but I know the Tallnar are the Underrealm race, but I had no idea that was a Kickstarter goal. Underrealm player race with beast-like attributes. Yep, that's them. I might be a Tallnar, but I kind of want to go human. If I go human, it's definitely going to be Valoon. By the way, Else, we kind of got to decide on a race together. It would be cool if we start off in the same area.
I'm down for whatever. I'm flexible.
I think human would be like the easiest compromise, but Tallnar, I mean, to be a beast looks so cool, man. I think there's a lot of customization with them too, but yeah. But Valoon human also looks cool. I think, do all humans start in the same area no matter which kind of human you choose? I don't know. Anyways, backer only mount. What's mount barding? I literally don't know what that means. Is that like the mount armor?
I don't know.
Mount
unique
barding.
Mount armor set. All backers receive a unique mount armor set. I guess so.
I guess that's what mount barding is dressing up your mount or something. Okay. Backer only skill if. Oh, so that's interesting. So that sounds actually like doing too much. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm already worried about the augment system and the class stuff, and like how many different skills. You got religious augments. You got so many ways to modify skills that it already seems like that's not going to be achievable, or they're going to have to like tone it down a little bit. But to say that there's also going to be backer only skills. Now, granted, that's not them saying every skill is going to have a backer version, but I imagine it's just going to be each archetype, one specific skill is going to have these backer exclusive skill effects. But yeah. And then the stock exchange, someone told us about that last episode. In-depth economic performance metrics for commodities, trade routes, wars, allows players to invest in nodes, guilds, and social organizations. The stock exchange sounds very interesting. I just know nothing about it. I don't know how the hell that's going to even work, but it sounds interesting. Like, I don't know how a stock can fail. I guess if your node gets sieged, it loses value and you lose the gold you invested. I don't know how none of that works, but okay. That's still interesting. Barding is like armor. Okay. Interesting.
It was very interesting.
Okay. Dang, that's actually, I learned something today. I mean, most of this stuff is just stuff that I assumed, like Kickstarters, obviously, I assumed they had all these cosmetic stuff. Like, all this stuff didn't really surprise me. Literally none of it. The stock exchange I didn't previously know was a Kickstarter thing. Uh, the parlor games I didn't know was a Kickstarter thing. But I had no idea that Tolnar was actually a Kickstarter goal, so I learned something today. I just assumed the rest would be what they were, which was cosmetic stuff. So that's interesting. Okay.
So,
Okay.
you know how we had our like our belief on what the next live streams are going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Is it realistic to think that Underralm might be a discussion for like an October live stream? Or is it too early, do you think?
Oh, way too early, I think.
Because
Well,
you'd think it'd be like a good Halloween style live stream.
that is true. That is very true. That'd actually be a smart marketing thing by them. I think that'd be a good time to showcase the Tolnar too. That'd be pretty cool. I could definitely see that actually. Huh. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I just I don't know. There's still some. I mean, hell, it'll just be nice to get out the Riverlands, right?
Right? Yeah.
um, Tolnar cosmetics for the last pack. I'd be surprised if they didn't goblet.
That's what I'm saying, man. You got Tolnar, show the Underrealm. Like, it all makes sense.
I mean, if they were able to show the Underrealm and Alpha Zero, surely they could show it sometime this year. It's just a matter if they got to polishing it. I would imagine that the Underrealm's not even available during Alpha 2, and that's one of those things they're going to polish later. Like, whatever cave or whatever entrances there are to the Underrealm to, like, go underground and traverse that, I imagine for Alpha 2, there's going to be sealed or you can't get through them. And then that's going to be one of those things they're polishing during Alpha 2, like, in the background. So I'm not predicting it to be available. That's not to say they can't show it on stream. Like, okay, we finished this part of the Underrealm. Let's talk about it. Let's go over it. They obviously have more priority stuff to show, but I could see them throwing that in there as a random stream to buy time, or nothing else is ready. I would like to see it.
At least 3.5 years ago. This is the first time I'm learning about the Underrealm, to be honest. That was just before I started paying attention to Ashes. So I feel really stupid that this entire thing has been like kickstarted and shown, and I don't know a damn thing. So that is funny though, because yeah, we've admitted in the past we don't know everything. I definitely don't know everything about this game. I've never claimed to. This is such a cool idea, and like, yeah, I've watched so many videos of other content creators. I've never seen a single one of them bring up the Underrealm, and the fact that it's like potentially, what did they say the map was? 2/3 of the map is water, 1/3 of the map is land. So potentially the Underrealm could be like another 30%, 33%, up to that amount. I'm not saying it will.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Like, you thought the map was big already, right? So to learn, I could imagine what you're going through right now. Like, oh, wait, there's an under there?
How am I supposed to terrorize everybody on a map this big? Like,
right.
I can't grasp this. This is crazy.
I'll find that Underrealm video they showed in Alpha Zero, and I'll post it in our chat. You can watch it beforehand.
Yes,
And then maybe we could just use it as a discussion topic for next stream, or have it playing on mute while we talk about it. I think that'd be pretty cool.
The Underrealm will be like an alternative caravan route to avoid a troublesome mountain pass. I think it lights up at night and dims during the day. Can you still? That's such a cool idea, man.
And maybe I'm not the only one that feels this way. Whenever I think about the Underrealm, I don't know if you got this far in Elden Ring, but Elden Ring had it was an Underrealm. Like, you would go down like this long elevator drop, and there was this whole world under there, and it was cool for Elden Ring because you're like, damn, this map is big already, but there's so much under Elden Ring. And that's what this reminds me of, like a land within the land. And it's just a cool concept. That's literally, every time I hear the Underrealm, I think back to Elden Ring, quote unquote Underrealm, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it is
But
very
yeah,
cool.
it's gonna be a good way to avoid things, and I think Steven recently spoke on this. Like it's gonna have like a lot of choke points, but it's also a way to get past stuff on land. But yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, I didn't even read the under part there. The under part, no pun intended. But Underralm node development. That's insane. That's insane. So yeah, that is confirmed. That's happening. I wonder. Hmm. I wonder how many of the nodes are underground. Because if they're telling us there's 85 nodes currently, how many nodes are underground? Dude, those node sieges will be epic. Um, that's crazy interesting to me.
I
And like, would you really want to? I mean, the underground sounds cool, but would you want to be living underground? Like a freehold? Surely undergrounds will have freeholds. That's interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna save this now. Put image a new tab. There's that. Yeah, I'm seeing if Vacnar is gonna comment anymore because I am now. Maybe we should. Okay, so before the previous live stream, we watched nodes 1, 2, and 3. Maybe we should watch the Underrealm video from 3.5 years ago.
I like that.
Like I can watch it beforehand and everything, but I think that'd be fun to cover because I can't be the only one that doesn't know anything about.
You know what? Let's do an Underrealm stream. Why not? Let's do an Underrealm stream. And I'll have my my good internet Thursday hopefully. So we'll definitely know by Tuesday how we can like how we're gonna stream it or whatever have you. How we're gonna share screen and whatnot.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. That's like a random topic no one's talking about lately. Watch there be 3 Underrealm videos this week because we brought it up. But yeah, that'll be a fun stream. That'll be fun. It's a long one. I think I remember it being a long one. But you know what? Actually, else that's a really good idea because I remember them walking around like it's Alpha Zero footage, so you're gonna see like bare bones. But we get to also look at this Alpha Zero footage and see how far the game has come.
Yeah.
And then I just remember that part where they walk into the cave, I think into the Underrealm, and I don't know how long they were down there. I can't recall. Like it's still gonna be kind of fresh. Oh, my daughter's crying. Come here, baby.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the chat to see if Vacnar is going to comment anything more, or he's just going to post a picture and tease the shit out of us. He didn't say anything else. He just posted the picture without without the letters and everything. So I got that up now. Yeah, that might be the background on my computer for a bit. This is super cool. Like this kind of looks like the underground area in ESO a little bit. Where is that? Is that not Skyrim? I can't remember. This looks very cool. This looks very cool. So, and yeah, sieging this would be a pain in the ass. Look how up on the rocks it is. There's got to be a ton of nasty choke points there. With a waterfall coming down the middle. Wouldn't want to
I
siege
think it's gonna be epic. I wanna I'll find that video and I think that'll be a fun stream. And it could be like a looking back at Alpha Zero and Underrealm and the Underrealm. Like we could be covering both at the same time to see the progress and
yeah, good shit, Galwood. Like that's awesome because
yeah,
like they're bringing it up in a dev discussion right now. So clearly, you would think
we might be seeing it soon. Yeah,
yeah, you would think that this would be something they'd bring up relatively soon. 6 months. 6 months is relatively soon, I guess. So
yeah, but yeah, he's right. Usually the stuff in the concept art is something that they're hinting at for like soon. So
yeah,
I mean, maybe. Yeah, that'd be fun. Let's do that. Let's put that on the agenda.
yeah. If I'm Steven, like if it's ready-ish, like I would show the Underrealm in October. Like that'd be my October live reveal.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got a plan. I'm gonna go ahead and call it there.
For sure.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Good talks with Else. Thank you everyone that's in Else chat.
Yeah.
I'll have this uploaded on my end. I was recording. I just didn't stream it live per se. So I'll probably just upload it in the morning or whatever. But yeah, this is fun. I'm glad we ended off. So yeah, thank you, Galwood. we ended off with a I'd say the unique topic, something I don't see many people talking about. So we got plans for next stream. So
yeah,
that's cool.
next stream we'll cover Underralm as far as we learn, and then we'll move on to other topics and everything. So yeah, this will be fun. This will be a lot of fun.
Nice. All right.
Not
Yeah,
going to
that'll do
bed.
it for me.
Not going to bed mad. Good game.
Yeah, that is true. He saved us from ending off on that that Reddit post. So you gonna do some Baldur's Gate 3 tonight still?
I'm thinking about it. I might pause the stream and kick one up again here in like 40 minutes. Take a break.
Nice. Deal.
But yeah.
All right, you guys. Peace.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Yeah. Catch you next Tuesday. Take it easy.